All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our second meeting of September. Today's Tuesday, September 16th. We are meeting here obviously in person at City Hall, and we do have a remote option. If you have the agenda, you can log in through the link, but if you're hearing this online, you've already done that. So it's a little redundant. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the invocation. I will give that followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together here today. Thank you for our citizens being so engaged, whether here in person at the meeting, online, or for those who do take time out of their busy day to watch after the meetings, watch the recordings online. Just ask that you be with each one of us tonight and let us all remember that we're here for the community, to work together, be respectful, and just guide us as we get the city's business done. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll do a roll call real quick. Councilmember Van Orman. Here. Councilmember Kurtz. Present. Councilmember Ball. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Cargill.
Present.
Councilmember Spencer.
Present.
Councilmember Dunn.
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Present.
All right, all present and accounted for. Before we go to agenda approval, I just do want to point out that there was a small correction to the meeting minutes from the last meeting to include Councilmember Van Orman. Somehow her attendance got left off. So I will be signing the amended ones and Councilmember Van Orman has the updated minutes. So that doesn't need an agenda adjustment. Just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. So are there any requested changes to the agenda before we motion? Councilmember Ball.
I would like to move general consent agenda item E to general business. So that would be C, I guess.
Okay, motion to move general business consent agenda E to 11C. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we do need a second. Thank you. Just trying to get through tonight. Okay, we have a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. All right, any other requested changes to the agenda? Councilmember Spencer.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to move item C from the consent agenda to general business action items.
Okay, so the motion is to move general business consent agenda item 10C to 11 now D. Do you have a second? We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. Any other requested changes? All right, not hearing any.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, not hearing any. We do have an approved agenda. So we are up to citizen comments. As usual, we have citizen comments. Our sheets are white now. They're on the table by the door. So if you're in person, would like to make a citizen comment either now or later on in the meeting, please fill one of these out, turn it into Rochelle at the end of the table, and she will get it to me. If you're online, please send a note to our meeting host in the chat feature. We will call on you. Just a reminder, time limit is 3 minutes. We just ask that you keep it respectful. And I will stop anybody at 3 minutes, just in fairness. And after we do in person, we don't have any written, so then we'll go right to online if there are any. So we have one. It's Arlene Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members, and good evening, community members. Mayor, this is for you. Excuse me, cheaters here. I pretend I don't need them, but I do. You wrote a beautiful article in the Splash, the September Splash about respect, and I finally got around to reading it today, and it just really moved me. And every point, if y'all haven't read this, please do. It's absolutely wonderful, and I think given the challenge that we've seen lately, we all need that. So thank you, Mayor. Kudos to this article. Thank you so much.
It was good timing. Thank you. Hey, do we have anybody else in chambers? Do we have anybody online? No. Okay. Again, we have another chance for citizen comments at the end. And we will do that. So we are up to announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. We have an award presentation from the LLPD. Come on in, y'all. There's a slew of them out there. Don't be shy.
Had to wave them all in. They're counting.
Come on.
All right. Mayor, City Council, it's a pleasure to be here before you tonight and recognize one of our officers for all the outstanding work that they do on a regular basis. But we had one specifically that we'd like to single out a little bit tonight. He doesn't know I'm doing it, so he's really going to be happy when I do. So
None of these guys know who it is?
well, they do know who it is.
Oh, okay.
But he just doesn't know what it is. We'll just say that way. So with that, I'd like to read the proclamation, or not proclamation, but the award recommendation that I have in front of me today. On 17 August 25, about 17:33 hours, Corporal Darren Powers was dispatched to a suicidal suspect on North Red Shoulder Lane. The adult male was identified as a retired federal agent with a military veteran who suffered from several failed attempts to receive mental health services from several local providers for his PTSD. Corporal Powers took additional time to learn more about the individual's background and determine another course of action to help a community member in need. Through an extensive search, he was able to locate a treatment center in Utah, along with securing a free flight to Salt Lake City for him to receive that treatment. Corporal Powers stayed with the male for an extended period of time, escorted him to Spokane Airport, walked him through security, and ensured he made the flight. And he also made sure all the coordinations were to ensure someone was in there in Salt Lake City to make sure that he was there to pick him up when he got there. He also made sure that the treatment center would take him on in. And when the treatment center took him on in, he also realized the veteran's wife was also having some issues. And so 3 days later, she was also admitted into the same veterans facility. The Liberty Lake Police Department would like to express our gratitude to Corporal Darren Powers for going above and beyond the call for duty and support a local community member in need. His actions directly reflect our commitment of excellent service and the values held by our department and our agency. And Corporal Powers' constant professional attitude and dedication to duty reflect great credit upon himself, the Liberty Lake Police Department, and law enforcement as a whole. The Liberty Lake Police Department awards Darren Powers with Law Enforcement Commendation Medal. Would like to add the chief would have loved to have been here himself, but he was unable to attend today. So I don't know if he's online. Is he online at all? Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you.
I don't know if you guys want to stick around for the next short thing. So it's very appropriate that we have a proclamation on our agenda for National Suicide Prevention Month. We're going to go ahead and have Rochelle read it, and then we'll take a vote of support.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas September is recognized as National Suicide Prevention Month, a time to raise awareness and foster understanding about suicide and mental health. And whereas suicide is a serious public health issue that affects individuals and communities across the nation, including our own city of Liberty Lake. And whereas our state and nation have experienced a concerning number of suicides in the past year, highlighting the urgent need for proactive measures and support systems to address mental health challenges. And whereas the city of Liberty Lake is committed to promoting mental wellness and ensuring that all residents have access to the resources and support that they need. And whereas it is crucial to provide education, encourage open dialogue, and eliminate the stigma surrounding mental health and suicide. And whereas we recognize the importance of supporting organizations and initiatives that offer help and resources to those in crisis. And whereas resources available to those in need include the Washington Recovery Helpline at 1-866-789-1511 and the 24/7 National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988.
Before we go on, I will go ahead and ask for a motion of support from the council.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Councilmember Spencer. Those in favor of supporting this proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Therefore, it be it proclaimed that September 2025 be recognized as National Suicide Prevention Month in our city. We encourage all residents to participate in local events, engage in conversations about mental health, and support initiatives aimed at preventing suicide and fostering a community of understanding and compassion. We call upon everyone in our community to be vigilant, to offer support to those who may be struggling, and to reach out for help if needed. By coming together, we can make a significant impact in saving lives and improving mental health outcomes for all. Thank you guys for your support for this very, very important topic that we like to support. Okay, moving on. We have city council reports and inquiries. Who'd like to go first? Councilmember Ball.
Saturday at the farmer's market, I was on the second shift. A vendor asked if there was ever going to be a possibility of it expanding and the farmer's market, to have more vendors. And I told him I didn't know, but it just I wanted to just put a plug in again for my idea of a year-round farmer's market on what's left of that property if we do get, a facility built on it. So I just think it'd be a really nice idea to have something like that. Then from there, I went over to the Cops Cars and Cruisers. Is that what it's called? Couldn't believe your car's there. Yeah. Just really a lot of beautiful cars. Yeah, the 57 T-Bird powder blue, mint condition. I want it. It's a great event.
Okay, anybody else from the council, the report? No, not hearing any.
Madam Mayor, this is Dan.
I have teams off. Go ahead, Councilmember Dunn.
Hey, sure. I just want to point out some really important service updates for STA with direct impact in Liberty Lake. The introduction starting on September 22nd of Route 93, the Moulter Loop. This is an STA route internally circulating within Liberty Lake, starting and then actually returning to the Liberty Lake Park and Ride. Really facilitating everybody who wants to take advantage of the great service that we have leaving from the Liberty Lake Park and Ride. The other route change is 722, the Liberty Lake Express. This now, rather than originating in the park and ride, originates in the Hawkstone Loop. So in recognition of the greater extending of our population out for the Georgia city boundary, STA is extending service and the ability for people to get around. So 2 new exciting routes starting on September 22nd.
All right. Anybody else? All right, I will try to make my mayor's report pretty brief. It is the time of year now that school has started. A lot of board meetings are ramping back up. So just a touch of what's gone on in the last couple of weeks. We had the grand opening at the Horman garage door company down at the end of was it Fairway?
View maybe.
Fair. I think it's at the end of Fairway, down the street from Liberty RV Roofing. Amazing facility. They moved from the valley from a location that was not suiting their needs and grown fairly old. So they chose Liberty Lake and one of the last, freeway frontage parcels right there on the south side of 90. So they're very excited. It's a distribution and sales facility. They service Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon from there and they have they're worldwide company, but they do have production in, I believe it's Yakima.
I believe that's
Pulliam.
correct.
Does it? Yeah.
think it's-
Sorry, so many things. So yeah, really glad to have them here. Also, the State of the County address was last week, sponsored by GSI. Great presentation by Commissioner Mary Cooney, followed by a presentation by Sheriff Knowles on some of the progress they've made on some public safety items in the county with the Rapid Response Center, the COWS, cameras on wheels that you may have seen around the valley with decommissioned patrol cars with the big thing of cameras on the top. Some of the stats that they shared of how those have already reduced some of the number of stolen cars and just all things crime. I've got one of the slides I can share with you guys if you want it. So great progress moving on there. SRTC board meeting was last week as well. And I attended the halfway celebration for the Signal Point apartments, which are the ones being built north of what used to be the Comcast building. So they are They're quite ahead of schedule, and they expect to finish the project about 3 months ahead of schedule in the spring. So looking forward to that. I got to tour one of the apartments. They're small but scaled very nicely. Lots of windows, lots of amenities. They've got a great gym. They've got a pool, great area for the residents to hang out both indoor and outdoor. So looking forward to that coming on board. They already have some rented, so even though they're not done with construction, they still already have people living in some of the units. Coming up, GSI economic forecast is coming up, along with, and this is a little bit farther out, the legislative priorities. So if you are interested in going to any of the GSI events, check out their website and get with Cody, and he can get you signed up. Spokane County elected officials meeting, which is where we go over a lot of GMA items, is coming up next. No, it's Wednesday. It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. I just thought about that. I'm looking at Lisa for confirmation. It's tomorrow. As CEO tomorrow, right? I'd like to ignore it sometimes too, but yes, okay. We have, I'm also on the Visit Spokane Administrative Committee meeting. The budget's looking really good for next year, and I think that's all I can think of right now. So lots of board meetings starting back up. So I will turn this over to Mark McAvoy, City Administrator Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Looking at some of the events that we want to remind you about, we're going to try to get through this report as quickly as we can. We've got a lot of other things on the agenda, but we've got some items that we need to wade through here. So starting with the special council meeting that's 2 weeks from tonight, which will be our next opportunity to review and discuss the proposed governance manual. So that'll be on September the 30th. This entire month, September of each year is National Preparedness Month. And so if you go to ready.gov, that is essentially FEMA's website that has all kinds of information about preparing local governments, but also individual residences and businesses for any kind of emergency or disaster. And so throughout the rest of the month, we're going to be posting some information about how to take some very simple steps, but very important and meaningful steps to make sure that if something happens, you and your family are ready for it. And in the spirit of that, all things preparedness, the AWC is hosting an emergency management forum on October the 2nd out at Wenatchee, which Chief Simmons and I will be attending, and I believe Councilmember Ball is also attending that. So we'll be able to bring back some information for you on AWC's take on emergency management at the local government level. And we've got another item on the agenda downstream that we'll talk more about preparedness with later in the workshops. Any questions about those events before we move on to some of the other things? Okay, very good. So we are at the 2nd September meeting, and the departmental reports have been distributed for your review. And if you have any questions of the department heads, now is your opportunity to ask those.
Councilmember Ball.
I have a question for you, Lisa. I didn't get your report till today. So what what is the housing element story map? I haven't seen I don't know what that is.
We are working on a story map. It's a GIS-based, it's map-based engagement tool. We'll have some questions. People can scroll through if they're interested. There's ways that they can take a deeper dive into each of the items to try and explain what's contained within our working draft of the housing element. So it's a way to get information out to people and engage them and get them thinking about what the new requirements are for housing and how it may affect them. And so we're hoping to better inform our community as to some of the coming changes in the comprehensive plan.
Okay, is it going to be online or on the Facebook page, or?
It's going to be online. I think that there's probably going to be a way that we could put a link on the Facebook page, but it's being hosted off-site. It's a kind of it's a memory intensive sort of thing. So it's a virtual link.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Right. Councilmember Spencer, I see your
Yeah.
hand. Go.
Yeah, so my first question is for Ben. I don't know if he's on.
You're right there.
Oh, so Ben's here.
He's here.
Ben's here. So Ben, installed 490 new irrigation heads on Appleway, restoring water service to all medians. How often are we suspecting this is going to have to take place?
So we believe this is the first time we've done it, and I believe I obviously wasn't here when it was done. I think it's roughly 8 to 10 years ago is when they were first.
Okay.
We expect roughly every decade.
Around that period of time?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I would imagine that's fairly costly to go ahead and replace all of those.
It was, I think we spent, I'm trying to think of all the receipts I saw for this from Horizon, probably around $5,000 in materials, and then
Okay.
all the labor was done in-house. That's what
Gotcha.
roadside. And
I was just curious about that. I'm not a big fan of the beautification one for, I think it actually causes more problems with traffic, and I understand we were told at the last meeting that this is intended to kind of ease the traffic, but with additional costs and things like that, I think it makes it unsafe. Plus, it's expensive. But
we are also looking at, I know we've talked a little about trees in those medians, and there
Yeah.
are a few that will be being removed this fall because there's
Okay.
not good shape, but we're looking at better ways. And I think Bill may have some comments about water use as well, when he gets up talking about the water use stuff. But yeah, that's definitely something we're considering for next year, is to try and limit that.
Yeah.
As best we can.
okay, thanks, Ben. I had a couple other questions. One for Chief Simmons or DC. Do we, I thought this was interesting. One of the ones listed here on the report was the shoplifting. An unidentified female attempted to steal approximately $750 worth of steaks from Safeway when she was approached by the
So
the
Tuesday.
employee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so 2 or 3 steaks. No. That she dropped them and ran. So I'm assuming, since she didn't technically steal them, that it ends up being a non-issue, or?
Technically, yes, it didn't count as a theft, but it was attempted theft.
Okay,
So we don't
okay.
have any identity on that one.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. All right.
Just hungry, I guess. I'm not sure.
All right. That's all I needed to know on that one.
Sounds
And then
good.
last question is for Kyle. I've just been, is Kyle in the audience? Okay. Kyle, I've been noticing with the dashboard, I feel like over the last couple of years, we probably were in that between that very good and excellent. And we're creeping closer and closer to fair. So I'm just wondering how concerned you are about that.
Not at all. So really, we're still overall, our financial health is good.
Mhm.
And so year over year, we had some pretty substantial increases for our sales and use tax. Our trajectory is still good. It's not at that kind of aggressive pace that it was kind of at the outset of like 21, 22, 23.
Right.
And so with all of that, we have our upcoming municipal facilities master plan. We have a larger picture of what is on the horizon upcoming. And so holistically, we have an idea of kind of, okay, how are we going to tackle all this? What revenues do we currently have? What revenues do we have in the toolbox? And so that all kind of goes into what we see here. So,
Okay, perfect. Thanks,
Yep.
Uh, Councilmember Kennedy had a question?
Yes, I just have a follow-up question with Darren. I'm just curious, the potential theft that was dropped there, did you confiscate the evidence? And when can we go to your home for the barbecue?
We'll have to get right on that. No, I did not confiscate the evidence.
Okay, very good. All right.
I don't think they used it either, so I think it's just gone.
There was only 2 fillets, right?
That's right.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Kyle, I hate to make you jump back up here. Tomorrow, we're supposed to hear about a major reduction in interest rates. And I know one of the things that we were looking at with the budget was that the fact that we were getting so much extra because interest rates were high. Do you have any idea how long that takes to percolate down to our accounts?
that trails at about a 2 to 3 month rate. And so, and it's not going to be a massive, from my understanding, a massive decrease. And so we're, and I'll present the revenue sources at our next meeting, and I'll give you guys an update of where we're at for our interest rate collection year to date. We're still well north of $250,000. And so I would imagine that we would be somewhere in there, maybe a little bit south, but I think overall the outlook for 2026 for our interest rates are still going to be good. So.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilmember Ball.
Yeah, just to follow up with Ben. So what part of Appleway, what medians are you specifically speaking to?
So this is all the Appleway medians from Liberty Lake Road all the way to, I believe, Bolter.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
So there's a lot of sprinkler heads in that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, I did forget, Mark, before you go on, I did forget to mention the Cops, Cars and Cruisers event. I know Councilmember Ball did, but amazing event, amazing partnership with the police department, John Bujosa and all the other parties involved. I think there were, did we say 187 cars registered? And 193, that's amazing. And Max, the MRAP did win for best military vehicle. So when the city did win an award for that. I don't know if we're gonna put the license plate on it that says best, but it was, you know, it was a big hit. I've got a picture of it compared to the SWAT vehicle. Oh, yeah, we look good.
It is the MRAP, the one that.
The black one.
Has the roof that, or the, you know, the.
Well, SWAT does too. It was the big black one.
Oh, okay, okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to invite Kyle back up to the podium. He's going to update you on the tax increment financing program. Kyle, take it away.
Thanks, Mark. So council, if you will recall, in April of this year, we brought our 3-year TIF and lift project schedule update to council for review and approval. At that same meeting, we also obviously recognizing that the current TIF expires December 31st of this year, brought forward a 5-year extension kind of in like with the previous 5-year extension that we had back in 2020. And so we passed that and then we started having discussions with our partnering jurisdictions. So our partnering jurisdictions with the TIF are the county. They are the actual sponsoring jurisdiction. The TIF and the funds are housed with the county. We are a co-sponsoring jurisdiction to the TIF, although it almost wholly resides within the city of Liberty Lake. Spokane Valley Fire is another partnering jurisdiction. And so we reached out to them to gauge their interest in an extension, and we got universal support to extend the TIF to 2034, which is the sunset, if you'll recall, of the lift. That's the local infrastructure financing tool. That's the $1 million we get annually from the state as a match for this. And we were one of 5 or 6 pilot programs back in 2007 that were awarded this by the state. Department of Revenue and the Community Economic Revitalization Board manage the lift portion. And essentially we report to them once a year. They're just ensuring that we're meeting our $1 million match for property tax collection. And between us, Spokane Valley Fire, and the county, we're generating 1.8 million between the 3. And so that's a testament to the success of this lift. Basically from 2007 on, there was an extended period of time as these improvements were taking place that we weren't meeting that million between the 3. And as these improvements and as these property tax collections came online, that balance started to grow to the extent that Spokane Valley Fire is now contributing kind of a lion's share of that portion. And so one of their signals to us was there's universal universal support for extending the TIF. There is some discussion about how we can redistribute potentially equitably each distribution annually from 2025 going forward. And so we as a city contribute in the neighborhood of $500,000 a year. The county contributes about $450,000 and fire contributes about $900,000. And so we had some preliminary discussions in May and then again in August with those partnering jurisdictions. And so those talks will continue. There is a public hearing that is scheduled at the Spokane County Commissioner's Office for September 23rd at 2:00. And so up here is kind of our timeline for adoption of the extension. And so they'll hear public testimony, and then partnering jurisdictions will then adopt. We will update potentially our existing resolution that takes us from 2030 all the way to 2034. And then downstream or simultaneous to that, Spokane Valley Fire will do the same. And then Spokane County will be the last one to adopt since they are the sponsoring jurisdiction. And so those talks are ongoing. We plan to bring an update back to council on the 7th. Regarding any updates from the public hearing, and then any updates regarding ongoing discussion for each jurisdiction's annual contributions. So look for additional updates on October 7th, potentially resolution for reconsideration on the 21st, specifically for us. If this schedule holds, we will have we'll have an executed extension on November 7th.
Any questions?
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Next, we're going to, I'm going to invite Jen Camp up to the podium. If you all will remember back into spring and early summer, we were having conversations that were prompted by the Winter Glow Foundation letting us know that they were no longer going to be producing the event. And so as a result of all of that decision making, we've had a team that has been looking at options for a winter themed event that the city would sponsor and or produce. And so with that, I'm going to ask Jen and Mikkel to walk you through what that may look like in 2025. So Jen, take it away.
So Mikkel printed out kind of the overview of what we're planning. For each of you, you have a packet that explains the different portions and the different parts that will make up this winter event that we're starting to develop. Ultimately, over the years, we intend to grow it and add funding to it. We're starting this year with basically no funding that was specified for it. We're using the Winter Glow funds. We've tapped out those funds already just in purchasing items for this event. In the next agenda or two, upcoming agenda, I intend to have an action item on the agenda for approval or consideration approval to utilize the $25,000 tax lodging advisory funding. I think that's what it's called. That was going to go to Winter Glow for us to use for this event. So we do want to have your blessing on that and have full transparency. It would help immensely for us to be able to use that, because as of right now, like I said, everything is we've utilized everything that we had access to, and it went quick. So I'm going to let Mikkel give you the overview. This is sort of his baby. There's a group of us that are consist of citizens. We have Liberty Lake Together Fund. Their group is joining in on us. So we're starting to build this coordination committee. We hope to grow it and expand into Kiwanis and Rotary, and potentially even Lions Club to really make this a big thing over the years and make it a month-long thing. We are not intending to replace Winter Glow. As you can see on that front timeline, Evan, could you put that timeline up, please? We hope to have it expand through the month with some activities that echo from the past, meaning 10, 15, 20 years ago. Echo a little bit of Winter Glow's theme, and then add on some new ideas. So I'll let Mikkel explain a little further.
Yeah, so the overarching idea was to try and incorporate more of the city in this type of event and do so with as minimal staff time as possible. So a lot of these functions wouldn't require much staff time, if any, other than some light setup. And so the overarching, it was also jumping in with Light Up Liberty Lake and the tree lighting ceremony. So shifting over and having that tree lighting ceremony, increase it a little bit, have everyone gather there, kind of similar to the opening ceremony at Winter Glow, and then just have different functions throughout the season. We will still be putting up some type of lighting at Orchard Park, and then with the thought process in the future, being able to add lighting to other parks and other city-owned facilities. And then the Parks and Arts Commission has a programming budget, and they're using that to purchase some trees. So we'll have a tree decorating contest and have some trees at Orchard Park, some at Trailhead, and potentially some here at City Hall, where community members can come and decorate trees with their own ornaments, and then people can come and look at the trees and vote on which one is their favorite. We'll be working on involving the city as well and producing a home decorating map, so people can register to have their home decorated, and then those lights will be on certain nights where people can drive through. We'll have a map of homes that are decorated within the community. And then partnering up and doing a Santa's mailbox, where we'll have a mailbox where kids can drop off their letters to Santa, and then they can get a return letter from Santa as well. So once again, kind of like bones of a newer activity that will spread throughout the whole month, and then things that we can add to in the future if, you know, that's the desire of the community.
And I would like to also recognize that we developed the theme based off Home for the Holidays, just to sort of focus on being here, being in Liberty Lake, celebrating home. We're going to echo that again for the city's birthday when we have that celebration. We don't have a logo or a theme yet, but something to the effect of let's come out and play in your own backyard at Pavilion Park. You know, that sort of idea to celebrate our town, celebrate being home, being here. And we hope to continue that and carry it on. Are there any questions?
Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Ball.
Not a question. First of all, I think all this is great, so thank you. I do have one suggestion, just as I flipped through here. I'm wondering if we can create a domain page that either has information about all 5 events on the one page, or links to it directly. And the only reason I say that is because, you know, I don't want people to be discouraged from signing up for one of these things because the website is, you know, secure.rec1.com/WA/Liberty Lake WASP/catalog. You know, if we could just have something like, you know, Liberty Lake Holidays or whatever, that everything can be under that same page. So just a suggestion.
Councilmember Ball.
So this schedule, okay, so you've got things happening on the same day.
Can you get closer to your
Oh,
mic?
I'm sorry. You've got the lighting here at the City Hall or Trailhead on November 29th. Then you've got Orchard Park on November 29th. I mean, why are they all happening on the same day?
So they begin the 29th, so they'll be throughout the seasons. People can go and look at them. So the lights will turn on that day at all the locations, and then they can go anytime until January 4th and look at the lights of those locations.
So everything will turn on the same
Yes.
day. Okay, so then you're saying people that decorate their homes can enter a contest, but then the sponsorships are for what? Like if I want to sponsor a tree.
So I'm trying to get it after talking with Kyle, so we can have some prizes for the winners of the home decorating contest.
Okay, so that's the purpose of the sponsorships. Okay.
And if we have large enough sponsors, we would be able to maybe even purchase some displays and start accruing some displays. That's our goal.
Oh, so speaking of that, so what's happening then to the Winter Glow stuff? Is it's still in that big
So
gigantic?
we've issued them, I believe it's mid-October is the deadline for them to clear out the storage receptacle. So they're on track to do that by that date.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, it looks not good. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Madam Mayor?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councilmember Dunn.
Hey, no, it's great. I just have to have a tremendous shout out and thank you to Jen and Mikkel on this. What I recognize is this objective is so far from anything our organization has really ever organized, to really dig deep and to reach and to create something from almost just about nothing, in a category of expert action that we don't have prior experience in, reflects a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work. So thank you for bringing this together.
Most of this is Mikkel, so we can thank him for coming on and joining our crew. I wouldn't do this without.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Oh, Councilmember Van Orman.
Just wanted to say thank you very much for passing on the holidays. This is great.
All right, thank you, Jen and Mikkel. These last couple of items, hopefully we can get through quickly. They are just really updates that I want to keep in front of you. We've talked about them before. We'll continue to talk about them. More like progress checks. Evan, can you bring up the return on investment dashboard? As we've gone through our transition and adopted priority-based budgeting and done some other things within the Rethinking Budgeting initiative, one of the things that we've talked pretty consistently about is this kind of balance between investment and return on investment. And so this is not going to be easy to see clearly. The design for this is to be something that we host on our website. It's a dynamic report at this point. It's not a software solution that we're proposing to implement. It's at this point a report that we will produce on a quarterly basis. But essentially what we're doing is we're taking every program that we've talked to you about. We profiled a couple of handfuls of them for you. And so all of those ones that we profiled, plus all of the other ones that are in the most and more aligned quadrants, we are going to start with including in the return on investment dashboard. And so what you're seeing here is just a sample of those things that will show up there. And so the first couple of things are related to the crime prevention program, which is owned by the police department. And you'll see there it's got the quartile information, it's got the 2025 cost information and FTEs. Each of these is the relationship that each of these has to the program is that we will have defined a result that we expect to achieve, and then several, at least one, in most cases, several metrics to prove that result. And so in this case, we are talking about the crime prevention program. So the one of the results that we expect to see come out of that program is that crime rates are trending down each year. And so what you're seeing here are data points that have been reported on a monthly basis that indicate the rate of crimes against persons and the rate of crimes against property. And as you can see, going back to 2024, December 2024, generally speaking, certainly on the crimes against property, that's trending downward. And if you actually mapped a trend line on the crimes against person, that would be a slight downward trajectory as well. And then if you look at the other result, which is people are feeling safer each year, this is actually called out specifically in our strategic plan as a key result. We are looking at our community satisfaction survey with a specific answer related to how safe do you feel in Liberty Lake, and looking at those 24 and 25 data points. And we'll soon be talking about the 2026 survey, which we expect to launch in January. So this is one of those things where it's a mixture of monthly data points and annual data points, but we expect to update this on a quarterly basis so that we can have some accountability and talk about that return on investment portion. Evan, if you go to the next one, and we're not going to look at all of these, but just as a comparative point here, another of the programs that we've profiled for you is library circulation. Again, it's in the more aligned quartile. You see the 2025 cost and the number of FTEs there. And one of the results that we expect to see come out of that program is that patron access to educational resources is trending up each year. And we're measuring that by the number of active library cards that we have and the circulation of both physical, digital, and then in the future, Library of Things circulation numbers. And so you can see with both physical and digital, those are digital slightly trending upward, physical trending upward. We've not yet come up with a method to get Library of Things circulation numbers, but that's forthcoming. And then the second result is public satisfaction with the library is trending up each year. And again, we're going back and relying on the satisfaction survey for those figures. And so as you look across the landscape of all of our programs, you would expect each of them to have at least one result with at least one measure to prove it out, some of them with more than that. And so as we build these up and get them ready for launch, probably sometime in early to mid-October, you will see this updated on a quarterly basis so that everyone can keep track of how we're doing against not only our strategic plan, but also our annual budget. And so with that, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Councilmember Dunn.
Mark, I just want to say thank you for using data and evidence-based information to help us in decision making. That this program basis is aligned directly to our budgeting process. To me, is a really important part of allowing the council to make better decisions when it comes down to the budgeting. So thanks for bringing this together.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Councilmember Kurtz.
I just wanted to say pretty much the same thing that Dan did. I think it gives us some insight into the decisions that we're making. And I think it's really nice to be able to tie the strategic plan to the community's sense of how things are going with the data and have it all together. I think the visual, easy to see, easy to understand is also helpful too as we're going into budgeting season. I just think it gives us a really nice picture of how to tie everything together. And I don't feel like we had that before, or I didn't understand it before in the way that you've made it so easy to see. So thank you.
Anybody else?
All right, last item on my agenda is a quick update. What is called here the resident request system. If anyone has used TextMyGov to file some kind of request, we are in the process of replacing TextMyGov with a new brand. The brand is called SeeClickFix, but essentially this is a method or a system that allows residents to tell us when something out in the community needs to be maintained, repaired, fixed, addressed in some way. And so I'm going to invite David Gaynor up to the podium. David is the project manager on this implementation. And so we're in what I'm going to call the configuration phase right now. And I expect that sometime between today and our next regular council meeting, we will launch this system. And so I wanted to give you a heads up on what that's going to look like prior to you just seeing it show up somewhere. And so, David, if you want to give just a kind of a quick update on where we are and what the next couple of steps look like.
Sure. Very briefly, TextMyGov, we've had this it's been there since before I showed up here 3+ years ago. This is the icon that's on the bottom right corner of your homepage on our website. It gets used, a few times a week, but this is the TextMyGov system is one that it's a very open-ended question, and all the questions come to me. So I have to be like the middleman to funnel off the request to the appropriate person. What SeeClickFix does is it allows us to create categories. So if somebody has an issue with garbage container at a park needs to be serviced, there's a pothole at this location that needs to be looked at. These can be done in a category that a resident can look for the category, put that request in that category, and then that category gets funneled directly to the staff members who can address that directly. They can have staff members go start to fix that pothole, go start to empty that waste container. And they can also communicate with the local resident who put in the request or put in the need for having something looked at. And while it's called SeeClickFix, really the intent, I think, of the creators of this resource, which is, by the way, the same resource that does our website, unlike TextMyGov, which is another outfit. This is being done in line with our website service. While it's called SeeClickFix, they intended us, I think their intent from Civic Plus's side is to have us be a resource where we can fix the problems that the outside residents want us to take a look at. But we're also going to be kind of expanding on the term of what fix means. So we're able to help fix the answers to questions that residents may have, such as, how do I get a tee time at Trailhead Golf Course? Well, we've got a category for that. So we can fix that question by responding to that resident and answering that question. How do I reserve a room at the library? We're going to fix that question by letting people click on that category to the library and having a couple of staff members be able to respond to that. So right now, what we are doing is we're still kind of honing in, figuring what our categories are going to be. We're getting very close on that. We've been doing some internal testing with staff to make sure we know from a staff standpoint how we're going to operate the system before we go live on it. We don't want to have chaos happen and not have our staff knowing what we're doing ahead of time. We're addressing issues, questions that have arisen. We started that about a week plus ago. And then once we get the categories really honed down, we're going to probably do another test run on this with staff. And then I'm going to be inviting our members of the Community Engagement Commission, some of whom are here. They're going to be finding out more about this tomorrow night. And we want to do a test run of this from a resident standpoint. So once our staff is sure and confident of how to operate it from our end, we want to make sure this thing makes sense to the residents before we go live with the public on this. So we're going to be making the best use we can out of our CEC members and getting their feedback, making sure this is being done well to represent and meet the needs of the local residents who will be using it. Then we go live by the end of the month, I hope. Any questions, any comments? And there'll be a splash article, I think, in October too, explaining this.
Great. Well, and a great way to keep track of things and know our closure rate and what track what the questions are and what we're having to tackle.
So thinking back on the update that I just gave you about the return on investment, some of the intent here is to allow for us to say, we got X number of requests on this thing, and we address them within the service level agreement that we've set with the residents. So we have some level of comfort that we're addressing things appropriately and timely and to the resident satisfaction. This is a fundamental improvement over what we currently have. And so we're looking forward to getting it out there so we can start using it.
Councilmember Dunn has a question or comment.
Yeah, David, this sounds great. I appreciate specifically alignment and integration to the existing services and the categories. Operationally, will residents still be able to use a text short message, or how will the interaction change?
Yes, it's going to be affiliated with both our website and cell phones.
So like a text message, for example, I just thought that was a really low barrier to entry and served a lot of people in terms of, interactions. So
Yes, through a cell phone, it's going to operate basically the same way as on the website. So people will be able to kind of scroll down through categories listed alphabetically. If they have a sprinkler issue, they can scroll down to where the S is. They can also type in keywords at the top. Maybe they don't want to go through that whole list and they want to type in garbage and find out which categories are related to garbage issues. Library, they can type in library and see which of, I think it's around 3 categories we have right now related to library services that need to be fixed.
So Councilmember Dunn, we've asked the question of the vendor, what is the likelihood of getting some kind of connection with an SMS service? We're still waiting on the answer for that. I have no doubt that at some point in the future that will become a feature that we can utilize, but at launch, we're not going to have the ability to accept incoming text. Now, that doesn't mean that people still can't use text. We'll just have to translate that into whatever that looks like into this service.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Councilmember Kennedy.
I have something maybe we might tie into this, assist with. We get citizens come forward all the time, have a question in regards to something within the city. And how we respond to that is, I think we're pretty good about getting back to that citizen. But I think what happens when a citizen comes forward, they will have a question that I think a lot of people in the city would like to hear the answer to. And I think that there's some way that we can incorporate in this, that when a citizen comes forward with and asks a question and how we respond to it, that is publicized. So other individuals in the community can see that this individual came forward, asked something about this issue, we responded to it, and more individuals could read about that.
Could you expand on what you mean by publicizing?
So if I can interject, that what you just mentioned is a hallmark feature of this service. So everything that is requested, everyone else will be able to see what it is, where it is, how we responded to it, so that if they saw that on their way to work earlier in the day and forgot to report it, but then see that it's been addressed, that saves a call. There's some exceptions to that. We can make certain things private if it's a code enforcement issue or other things, but to your point, it allows people to see what's going on globally.
I think it's a great program. I really do.
Yes,
Look forward to it.
If somebody sees a pothole, they will be able to get into the system and see if has somebody else raised the same question about the pothole. Then, as Mark said, there are some that need to be private, code compliance requests, concerns, etc.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, David. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okay, next up, we have Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District. Welcome, Bill.
Okay, evening, Bill Genoway, Sewer and Water Commissioner. I see Ben's here. He could probably give this report because we just had our meeting like 20 minutes ago, so. Okay, so we're working on the Metro Car Wash, still working on the permitting process. It's a tricky operation for us because it impacts our sewer district quite a bit. If you have or haven't noticed, the Kenny Well drilling operation's over. So they've pulled up and mobilized out. We still have to do testing and then we have to build a building. So we're probably looking at next year before it's fully operational. But we went down 210 feet. We have excellent water, not much sand. It's gone through the testing process and it's great. Speaking of wells, fun fact. We pump about 1.5 billion gallons a year in our little city here. One of the fun facts is 85% of that is irrigation. So when you look at the Spokane River the way it is right now, and before they opened the gates at Post Falls, it wasn't very nice. Well, all that impacts well drilling and well usage. So if we could get a little handle on the irrigation side of our pumping, it would be a tremendous asset. 1.5 billion, 85%. It's a big number. Again, our boys over at the sewage treatment plant got the EPA award for the most outstanding, it's called the Most Outstanding Performance Award that EPA gives out. We've gotten it 11 years and we've gotten it the last 2 years in a row. So it's kind of a big deal. And we're very proud of them. And so we had them on our meeting today and we acknowledged them and it's fun for them, fun for us. Anyway, that's all I have. Got any questions?
Any questions?
I do.
Councilmember
Oh, that
Kennedy.
$1.5 billion or dollars, money,
Gallons.
gallons of water that, do you know approximately how much of that actually goes back into the aquifer?
Oh, probably all of it.
Okay.
Water recirculates. There's only so much water in the world, so it goes up, comes down. And in our case, it goes back to the aquifer and it gets regenerated and we use it again.
Very good. Thank you.
Councilmember Dunn has a comment or question?
Question, Bill, regarding Purple Pipe. Do you guys ever talk about that amongst commissioners? Interest in, utilizing reclaimed water?
Reclaimed water, yep, we do. And so when you built the Kramer overpass, we put Purple Pipe in there specifically for that reason, because eventually we'd be able to use that for irrigation. It's, it's kind of tricky if you don't have a distribution system for the Purple Pipe. Our water that comes out of our treatment plant is almost drinkable, so it's a good resource for irrigation. The tricky part is plumbing, obviously, but the water we discharge back into the Spokane River, so it's not like we're not using it. We just clean it, send it off. So, yeah. It's a good resource someday, maybe.
Councilmember Ball.
What is Purple Pipe? Is that what you said?
Right, it's reclaimed water. It's the water we discharge out of the treatment plant.
Right. Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Thanks for being here.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, next up, Community Engagement Commission. Welcome, Robin.
Good evening, Mayor and, sorry.
Thanks.
Is that, yeah, you are. There's a significant difference. Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community members. I'm Robin Beckett from, and member of the Community Engagement Commission. So the bylaws within our ordinance say that we need to have some type of annual report. So this seems to be a really decent template that we've been able to adhere to and adopt. It's successful. And so every year in August, we present this to the city council. And we talk about it then at this meeting. It just seems like a year goes by so fast. It didn't seem like that it's been that long since I was talking about this. So Community Engagement has put together this report, and you can see on there what it includes. It's just looking at the summaries, introduction, our accomplishments that we did, the 2026 expectations and our plans, our budget, and then we always have a fun little page I call photo op moments. Next slide, please. And so really looking at our recent activities, we're quite evident. We do quite a bit at the farmer's market. We work did at the Barefoot in the park. We also have provided support this year to the planning department for the comprehensive plan update. And soon now we're going to continue with the capital facilities plan. Then the town square campaign. And that was for our outreach and community engagement. We provided support at the city council transparency meeting, and we provided support at the Winter Glow town hall meeting. And we also continue to have monthly CEC meetings. So one thing that we have noticed too is that we're always recruiting for other CEC members. We've had a little bit of a turnover, and members leave, and we like to always get new ideas and new members. Next slide, please. Oh, there are photo op moments. And it's great because I usually generate this in collaboration with the other members of the CEC, but I get to do the photo op moment. So I always pick everybody except me. Okay. Next slide. Are there any questions?
I'm not seeing any. Just thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay, next up, Library Board of Trustees quarterly report. Don't all run at once. She's hiding back there.
So while Evan's pulling up the slide, I'm going to introduce Barb Richardson. She's one of our newest Board of Trustees members, and she's going to be presenting our quarterly report today.
It appeared to me that this is also on your agenda later. So we're there twice. So I'm Barb Richardson, the newest trustee for the library. And we have a couple of policies that we need your approval for. So I believe that you have the full copies of the policies in your packets. But because there may be some community members here who don't have that, I have put together a small slideshow. So next slide, please. We're not recommending any changes to borrowers' responsibilities, holds, checkout limits, renewals, interlibrary loans, library notifications, any damaged items, lost items, blocked library accounts, fines, or library fees or waivers. Next slide. But we are recommending a change to the first policy about claims returned and claims never had. So I'm going to explain that real quickly because sometimes people get confused by these two terms. A claims returned is when somebody who's borrowed an item from the library claims that they've already returned it, but the library can't find it. And a claims never had is when a patron says, well, I never had that item. So it gets, a little tricky when somebody says, well, I already took that back, or I never had that item. So the Board of Trustees recommends the following change, that a claims return occurs when the borrower's account lists an item that the borrower claims has been returned or never borrowed, and borrowers are limited to 3 claims returned or claims never had claims for Liberty Lake Library items. If the claims return never had is for materials that are borrowed from our new Inland Share Library Group, which is what's replacing the CIN that we had previously. It is up to the lending library whether they will allow the claims returned, claims never had. So that is a change to the policy. I don't know if you want to vote on these separately, or you want me to go through both policies and then vote.
They're coming up as items later in the agenda.
Okay.
Can I ask
We
you a
have
quick question, Barb, though?
Yeah.
So when it says they're limited to 3, so what happens after 3?
Well, I'll let Janet talk about that. But
So basically, if they get more than 3, they would have to then pay for the item.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense. So it's kind of like they get 3 strikes and they're out situation.
Thank you.
to be fair, sometimes they show up. Somebody does find it, maybe at home. Sometimes the library finds them, that it's been shelved someplace wrong. Maybe it got stuffed under, so fortunately, we have sort of this 3 strikes thing, and it's not just once, because sometimes it is the patron's issue. They move and they say, oh my gosh, I found this, I'm gonna bring it back. And sometimes it's the library's fault. So.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Member
is that a quick
Spencer.
question? So if the item is found, that is that removed from their strikes?
Yeah.
Okay.
course.
And I guess one other question I had was, how often what's the likelihood of somebody getting 3 strikes? I mean, I suspect this is a pretty rare occurrence that this happens.
Yes, it's
Okay.
definitely very rare that happens, and it helps that if we find the item or the patron finds the item, it gets removed from their account, and then it kind of starts over.
Yeah. Just one other question. Do we know, is this in alignment with the other members of the ILG then? It's because it sounds like it's going to be up to them to decide. It sounds like it's probably a similar policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Next slide, please. So this is the second policy that we're recommending a change. The purpose has been unchanged, which is to ensure that the Liberty Lake Municipal Library provides the highest level of access to library resources possible while responsibly managing public assets. And then the scope is also unchanged, except every place in our policies that say CIN now need to say ILG, the Inland Share Library Group. So that transition is taking place this month, and so our policies do need to change. Next slide, please. Same with implementation and eligibility. We need to change the CIN to ILG. Next slide, please. This, however, is a new change to our basic library card. We do have a reciprocal agreement with Spokane County Library District. So through those reciprocal agreements, residents and property owners in jurisdictions within Spokane County Library District may obtain a Liberty Lake card for free. If a Liberty Lake card is obtained under this agreement, card holders are entitled to all library privileges except our interlibrary loans and remote access to electronic resources such as our downloadable audiobooks, ebooks, and our new streaming services. So that's a change.
Looks like we've got a question, Mayor Pro Tem.
I just want to clarify. The exception is to both interlibrary loans or the exception is just to interlibrary loans, and the other items in red there are what they can access.
No, they cannot access.
Okay, so it's okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
the wording is slightly changed, and this is to bring it in line with the agreement that we have with Spokane County Library District.
Thank
So we wanted it to read the same as theirs, so that there wouldn't be any confusion if a patron was using both resources. So it is a different language, but the purpose is the same. Next slide. So then we've added in a non-resident card and a charge, and this is new. We've never had a charge for this. So for those people not residing within the ILG boundaries, non-resident cards are available for $30 a year. Non-residents must show a picture ID and proof of their home address. This also is in line with what many of the other libraries do, charging $30 for a non-resident card. It's not something that we have done in the past, but it's kind of bringing us in line with other library districts in our region. Any questions about that change? Yes.
Councilmember Kurtz.
How many patrons would that affect?
80, 90, 80 or 90 people. Yeah. Next slide, please. Here only the change is really that the Liberty Lake Municipal Library card holders and paid non-resident library card holders may, and then the changes are not different except for the access to the filtered internet. So this is something we had a big discussion about. When people access the internet at the library, it is already filtered. There are guardrails, if you will. And there's when people, so on the next slide, we talk about when parents allow to have their children to have a library card, they have to be at least 5 years old. But once somebody has a library card, they have access to the computers at the library. And so parents are responsible for the fact that their kids have access to the computers at the library. If you type in your library card number, you get access to the internet. So we don't have guardrails that are really tall, I guess you might say, that parents do need to know that if they allow their kid to have a library card, that child shows up at the library and wants access to the internet, they have access to the internet. So that's really an important change. Talked about it for a long time. And hopefully that wording with the filtered internet part, that parents will understand there are some guardrails there, but they aren't, they don't disallow access to the internet for children. Do you have any questions about that?
Don't see any.
And then the next slide, please. Really, there's no further changes. The description for full access, the description for limited access has not changed. The next slide. No changes in responsibilities for people who hold library cards. And the last slide, in terms of suspension of accounts, there's no changes. So do you have any questions about the policies that we're asking you to approve?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Just one real quick, Barb, and I don't know if this is something you want us to fix, but under, on this handout, under fines, it still has the CIN listed.
Oh,
So I wasn't sure if you
need to change.
want that to change to the ILG.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Good catch.
Under fines on page 1, on this first page.
We'll make sure we note that
Yes,
one.
Yeah.
we did catch that
Yeah,
one.
so
When we
we
get
can
to
make
the
that
action
amendment.
item,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Any further questions?
I don't see any.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Okay, Parks and Arts Commission. Welcome, Nancy.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the audience here, and everyone else. I'm Nancy Hill, Chair of the Parks and Arts Commission, and looks like the first slide is up. We've been working with Jen and her team and the consultant and Lisa on the parks plan. It's been an interesting process, lots of documents to look at. but we're getting close to completion on that. At our next meeting, we'll be honing in on vision, goals, and policy to kind of firm all that up for eventual presentation to council. So I think it's going to be a great roadmap for the future, and we're excited to be able to participate in that and help gather some of that public input. So, next slide. Signal box wraps, we now have some art to choose from. We'll be looking at that at our next meeting at the Legacy, Legacy Country Vista, the main original Legacy thing. We're going to go with the patriotic theme because of the Hometown Heroes banners. Goes right by there, and we have some good art choices that we'll be going with. And then the Kramer Parkway, we're going to be going with a nature theme. It will kind of blend in with the sculpture art piece that will be going in there this year. You can see there in the pictures, the sculptured art piece is almost together. If you recall, it's a metal artist and a fused glass artist that have worked together, and we're really excited. We're now down to the planning the base and how it's going to be mounted, and working with Ben's department and Jen and her crew to figure out the concrete platform that will be mounted and the placement of that. And hopefully at that time, we'll also be able to coordinate the wrap of the box to kind of finish that piece up for now. So real exciting to see that completion. These artists have some stuff in Riverfront Park. So they got stuff out in the community, and they do really nice work. The Liberty Lake Together art, we're issuing the stipend for the proposal. So we're hoping to get some rough drawings. Again, that's going to be our goats at the entrance to what is now our farmer's market, the town square, the brick kind of arch. They'll be there. So that project continues to move forward. He said he can't fire up the foundry until winter for some reason, when he will do that metal art. So we'll be looking forward to getting that installed and finished up sometime next year. That is one of our carryover projects. Next slide. This is an exciting project that we're looking to get done this year. If you recall, I had mentioned there was some safety concerns about the boulders, particularly around the splash pad and then ongoing onto the playground. We have an agreement on your agenda tonight for approval of the artist agreement for this art. It'll be $10,000 this year, and then that's already in our budget. And we'll be looking possibly to do more rocks next year as we identify what other ones are safety issues, so kids when they're running in water won't trip. We're looking at something that will be appealing to kids, like the colored turtle you see on the screen. The artist had a great idea of connecting the rocks with maybe some little vines or plants. So it kind of gives this whole animal cute theme to the area. So we're hoping that you'll approve that agreement tonight, and we can move forward with that project and get it done this year. They said we're coming right into perfect painting time. So we're ready to go in the spring when everything gets turned back on. That'd be great. Next project, next slide. Oh, the historical outlook. I feel like I keep talking about this, but we have ordered the metal work. The historical stuff is getting mounted. That's going to go in the section as you look at the stage at Pavilion Park to the left side. And we're still hoping for an install this year. So we'll be inviting you guys on down to see that. It's been nice working with the historical people. I think they've really made a nice layout that will help explain some of the history of Liberty Lake, and some of that will tie into the mural and then the mural extension that we have planned for next year, I believe it is. The Bike Advisory Committee continues to meet, although I think they're winding down as we get out of biking season, but we did have a bike safety and skills clinic at Cars and Cruisers, that's it. Oh, anyway, I went down there and it was really fun. They had the little safety course, free helmets. This is in conjunction and cooperation with Scope. I know the mayor was there and saw it, and we gave out, I think, 50 helmets.
Great.
So it's really exciting to have that partnership with Scope, and we don't feel like maybe that was our best venue for kids, but we'll do it again, probably in conjunction with Barefoot next year. and try to focus on events with kids, but we did give out 50 helmets. So there's 50 people that are a little bit safer, and they were nice helmets. They look cool. Prepping for Home for the Holidays. We're really happy as a commission to support this new look for the city. And I think what Jen and her team have come up with, as Councilmember Dunn said, is awesome. I mean, that's a really quick pivot, and each one of those programs can be built on. So we're excited to support it by donating part of our budget to it this year and continuing to work with them in the future to make our holidays extra special here. We are excited and getting ready to start talking about the special art project we'd like to have at the birthday party in Vail in the summer. There's going to be in a future agenda item an agreement with a consultant through Spokane Arts, where we can hopefully grow our pool of artists for submission, which we've struggled with a little bit in the past, and on special projects like our 25th birthday and the City Hall project, where we want to have some real meaningful art to use some that consulting money to help us with that and identify those projects and get fresh ideas. So we're really excited about that, and that will be coming up on a future agenda. That agreement is still being worked on, as well as our tennis program. We're trying to bring back some tennis lesson opportunities for our community, because it's my understanding a group that had done it before didn't. And the community has mentioned there's a gap, and we're going to fill it. So we've got someone on board and working on that agreement and hammering out the details as well. So we should be ready to go with that next year, and you'll see it on a future agenda. Next slide.
Real quick, Nancy, we got a comment from Councilmember Dunn.
Oh, no, go ahead. You're on the question, so we made it.
We made it. And on the comments, do you have a comment or question?
Hey, that's really what it is, Nancy. You bring such life. You and all of the commissioners in Parks and Arts bring such life and energy to the community in this category. And I just got to say thanks. Every one of these updates are an incredible set of actions and activities, as well as projections into the future of more actions and activities. And I'm just so grateful for the work of your work and all the commissioners.
Well, on behalf of the commission, we thank you. We have a really good group of folks. I guess we just got an application to fill the student commissioner position, and we're excited about the work we do. I keep saying we're the fun people because, you know, we're a little more exciting than maybe planning. No, not offense to planning if they're here, but I mean, who else gets to paint rocks and, you know, ride bikes? Any other questions?
Councilmember Kurtz.
I have a question about goats.
Goats.
Can you remind me how much the goat that the artist who's getting the boundary set up, how much is the goat?
I think it's 2 goats. And I want to say, if memory serves me, we might have had a $40,000 budget, and the artist is like 30-ish of that. And then we left some money for overages and infrastructure, I think, but don't quote me. That's very close.
Ballpark was what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you guys have thought about doing the ability for like the community to sponsor goats and crowdsource money to pay for extra goats, because I think that would be kind of fun. I also think having some sort of names for the goats would be cool. If the kids in the town could like pick names for the goats when you guys have them installed, that might get them a little bit invested in the goat that they helped name back in, 2025 when they return.
That's a great idea. Maybe next year is an ideal time to start that off, because we'll have 2 goats. So that'll start the momentum. We'll get a name, and then we'll say, hey, maybe we need more goats.
But I
maybe get naming rights if you give us the money for the goat.
There's that too. I think that's what I was thinking of, is I think that there are people in the community who might, depending on the cost of the goats, right? And maybe there are different sizes of goats and whatnot, but that would go in on a goat that they could name and pick a theme of what the goat is doing and have it placed somewhere in the city. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I'm like, I would like to have this kind of goat, and I would love to sponsor it to put it wherever, right?
Well, I don't know why in my mind, at Trailhead, where we have the electronic reader board, I keep seeing a herd of goats climbing that hill. So I don't know. I can't get that out of my head.
Like goats with personality, right? Like if a goat was like chewing on a tree that we had in Orchard Park. I mean, just random things that are popping into my mind.
I think that's a great idea. And I think the kickoff will be when we actually get our first 2 goats. So we'll have to talk, we'll put that on an agenda for discussion. Thank you. Yes.
All right, Councilmember Ball.
What medium is the artist using for the goats?
Metal, steel.
Oh, okay, so they're
Yeah, it's
metal,
a sculpture.
metal sculpture.
But he understands that this kid friendly. So even though steel is hard, it's not going to be, you know, razor sharp or anything like that.
Right, right, right. And then on the boulders, in Orchard Park.
Yes.
Painting them this time of the year, okay, they say that's the ideal. Is it, I mean, but they're gonna get wet all the time. Is it like a water soluble paint or?
Yeah, I don't know what they use, but it's outdoor paint that's not going to wash away. It's going to be there to stay, or at least as long, I mean, just like the basketball court murals and the skate park murals, there probably will be touch up required at some point, but they should have considerable longevity because they're not going to be walked on like the basketball
Right.
court.
Right. Well, I guess, so it's gonna be all kind of marine themed then,
Not necessarily. I mean, it could be a rabbit or a squirrel or a frog. I mean, they're artists, so we kind of defer to them to come up with the ideas, but they know it's located at a splash pad. The play set is right next door, and they understand could be a growing project that extends to kind of connect the whole park play area there. So I think they'll come up with some good ideas that will be suitable for children in the park.
So you may not know the answer to this, but if, so they're painting them as a safety, you know, so kids
Yeah.
don't trip. Why did they put them there in the first place?
That I don't know. I mean, they are quite decorative, but probably, I don't know, maybe the designer never ran away from cold water. I don't know.
And one more question on the Kramer Parkway, the fuse glass,
Oh, yeah,
whatnot. Is that
sculpture.
gonna go in before winter?
That's what they say.
Okay. All right.
That's that's the promise.
And you'll
my
let us
fingers are
know
crossed.
when this is
Oh, yeah, we
happening.
will definitely let you know. Yeah, we'll want to have some kind of a dedication preferably
Yeah.
once it's up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilmember Kennedy.
This GOAT project, I think is a project that's been on for a long, long time, and I think it's a great project. I really do. Something I'm really looking forward to that. But I sit here and I have to chuckle and turn it, but when they're talking about, well, the goat could be here, the goat could be there, something like that. I can't get out of my head that the goat was in my garage.
Oh,
So I would think and throw out a recommendation as we ask the children to start possibly naming some of these goats, to consider Houdini as one of them,
Oh.
because it did break out of the crowd and eluded our employees for quite a while.
And that was in your garage?
It was in my garage.
Oh, well, that is an interesting end of that story.
Anybody else have questions? All right, thanks for a great report.
And once again, I want to shout out to Jen Camp and Michaela and her team. They are just awesome and so responsive, and really, really great crew you have there.
Agreed. Okay, thank you. Next up, we're up to workshops, facility master plan update. Ben.
Post that real quick.
Better be good after that.
So this is as artistic as my presentation gets. Yeah, I think I've got 3 colors in there. Next slide, please. And I am less fun than planning, so I wanted to really know that. So this is really a culmination of the last 9 months of work. Staff has been working on this, as well as our design team partners from BCRA. We really started this last December with a lot of discussion, and it's kind of evolved, and we've kind of led you along the way. Some of the stuff we've been working on. This is really the draft culmination that will have a finished document that we can then incorporate into the comprehensive master plan. So just real quick, the agenda, just kind of what we focused on, the process, what we found in our existing facilities, what our needs are for growth when it comes to space, some of the site location challenges and opportunities we have, some of the facility studies which we've already shown you. I didn't complete put all of them in here, but just kind of tried to summarize it down to about a dozen slides. We've got some public engagement that Jandy will talk a little bit about when it comes to the library in Town Square, as well as kind of a final community staff input summary. We've got a little bit of, funding strategy discussion. We haven't really dove into that, just some options that we have for funding to go forward in the future, and then a recommended action plan with next steps. So next slide, please. So we focused on the 4 facilities: City Hall, the library/police building, Parks and Rec, which is technically the Little House right now, and then the new public works facility. The process kind of went as, we came in, we did site visits with BCRA, we did facility assessments, did a lot of staff interviewing as well as some council interviews. Some of you were able to participate in that earlier in the year. We did some space needs forecasting out to about the 10-year mark. We looked at a lot of options. We started out with about 7 options. I think we got down to about 2 or 3 before we first spoke with you and narrowed that down to kind of the preferred option. And we started working on conceptual plans and cost estimates. And we've also continued to get community feedback integrated into those plans along the way. Next slide, please. So for our existing facility summary, just so you're aware, I'd put the dates of when these facilities were built. So we're reaching the over 30-year mark at the library police facility. City Hall, the Parks and Recs building are at the 25-year mark. So these facilities are definitely in need of an upgrade. They weren't built necessarily for the purposes they've been used for by the city. So we've incorporated a lot of that in this as well. And you guys saw, I think most of these photos look pretty familiar to you. So I'll go through this slide really quickly. Next slide, please. All right, so these are some of the facility summary observations we saw, not necessarily in every facility, but these are things we saw quite a bit as we look through the 4 or 5 facilities the city currently occupies. Majority of our mechanical and electrical systems are outdated. A lot of that's because that's the original systems that were built back when these facilities were built. They don't necessarily meet new ADA compliance standards because, like I said, they're aging facilities. There's minimal sound absorption between offices. This building specifically wasn't built for the environment it's in. A lot of the outdated finishes are the original finishes. We've done a lot of work to kind of keep those up, but it is time for a refresh. Space and functionality, we just don't have enough meeting rooms. We've got limited seating capacity. You can see here, as well as some other places without the city, storage shortages throughout. And then, yeah, we're just at our max capacity and a little room for growth. And then obviously we mentioned the ADA piece as well, but we're not fully ADA compliant in our restrooms, entrances, things like that. And we have limited flexibility for expansion. Next slide, please. So this was kind of the first look at growth and space requirements. Each department kind of looked at where they are now, where they need to be in the next 10 years. So the blue in the graphic there, which I think we've shown you before, shows what they have now, and the yellow is really the growth projection to manage the staff for the future as the city grows. So next slide, please.
Ben, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Quick question on this, Ben, on the last slide.
Back.
The yellow, is that to build out or is that currently?
That is to build out.
Okay.
So that's roughly a 10-year projection, which we think that's about when we'll hit build out. So we think that will sustain us for quite a while. And that was kind of how a lot of these particular departments are going in the new city hall design. So that's kind of how we started with how much growth we need in the city hall project, which we're going to come back and talk to you about in October, give you an update on that one. So back to the next slide. So they also looked at kind of the site overview. We're pretty blessed that all of our facilities are fairly close together. City Hall and the library and the police are pretty close. Basically, they could be in walking distance. We are very close to our commercial core, which I think is helpful. Our gaps are we do have limited expansion room within the sites. There's really no within the police library and within City Hall. There's no real good plan to like make the buildings bigger. You can't really. I mean, it'd be very cost prohibitive to do something like that, as well as their aging sites. But we do have the opportunity that we've talked about before where we can co-locate, we can utilize the Legacy Church building, which the city already owns. And we've got the town square parcel that can be utilized as well, which we do incorporate into the preferred, the recommended sequencing option. But we do have a couple of different things that we can look at. We've looked at here and kind of gotten to the point where we think we have a good way forward. Next slide, please. All right, so I think this should look fairly familiar. The facility studies and proposed options. It was a collaborative effort. We looked at, like I said, several options. Option 2 was really the one we honed in on. It checked all the boxes. It is significant. It is a significant investment. As you can see, it's $28.7 million. That obviously that would fluctuate based on which option, which we'll talk about in a little bit when it comes to the library at Town Square. We looked at all sorts of strategies whether we could reconfigure existing spaces, we could expand facilities. That was pretty limited. We could repurpose underutilized areas as well as relocate departments. And this option really picks 3 of those 4, where the reconfiguration really is more the police department. We could reconfigure, we could expand into the existing library, which would obviously move to Town Square. So we looked at all of those strategies as we went through this. But we really tried to focus on meeting the current as well as future community needs. Sir.
Ben, quick question. Can you explain what the surplus 13,000 is?
Let's see. Sorry, I can't see. I got my glasses on, but
So you have added square feet under conceptual option 2. And I know we already went over this at
Yep, I'm
last
just trying to
meeting,
remember
but
what we said last time.
added square feet was 32,000, then plus a surplus of 13,200.
So that, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that some of it is if we move the existing library out, we do have a little bit extra square footage there. So it's really, we'll have additional, and I think we talked about, maybe that becomes the municipal court, because the police department doesn't need all 8,600 square feet of where the current library is sitting. I think it only needs 3,300. If I'm correct, in my math. So that's kind of where that comes from. I could do the math again for you.
So that is what, give or take 5,000, let's say?
Yeah, some of that, so now I remember, some of that is here as well. So Parks and Arts doesn't necessarily need this space for administrative as well as I think that wing. I think we looked at, because this building's about 7,500 square feet. And Parks, and with this scoping option, Parks basically goes in that wing, and then this would be basically new space used for programming or whatever else, community events, stuff like that.
I guess my concern is that and maybe you're going to answer this later on, so excuse me if you are, but if we're talking about a $28.7 million option here, but a third of that or a fourth of that is just surplus space, is there something else we should be thinking about doing so that we maybe instead of being 28.7, it's 23.5 or something?
Yeah, so it's hard when you use existing facilities. So it'd be great if the Legacy Church was only 12,000 square feet, not 14,000 square feet. And we may have to look at some of that as we go through that process, but it's a little bit kind of everywhere, because we're trying to fit our needs into certain size spaces. And so that's where you see those surpluses kind of throughout the whole program, because they don't just quite fit.
Yeah, it calls it out right here. Surplus between City Hall, new City Hall and current City Hall is 6,600 square feet. Surplus at Public Safety is 6,600 square feet, but you said possible.
Yeah, so we've got between
this
existing building and Legacy Church, it's roughly 21,000 square feet, probably out by 22,000 square feet. Our needs aren't 22,000 square feet for those through build out, but those are the spaces that we have. So we're adding capability here as one option. So that's kind of why you see a surplus like that, because like I said, we're trying to fit exact needs into spaces that we can't necessarily make smaller. We could look at maybe not, doing much to this, which could reduce that cost a little bit, but yeah, you're right. Are any other questions on this one? Next slide, please.
Go ahead.
We keep talking about extra space, but we know it gets used up quite quickly.
It does.
We've got building storage that we've been doing for quite some time. We could possibly move some of that storage space in-house.
And when I talk to you about the City Hall design, we're going to kind of show you where that. So we've tried to, the Legacy Church is over 14,000 square feet. We've tried to, obviously the chambers is significantly bigger than it is now. And we've tried to increase that storage space wherever we can. So there's several larger square footage storage spaces within the Legacy Church design right now. So I think that is definitely a possibility, as well as this building could be also utilized.
I think where Councilmember Van Orman's going is we're paying for offsite storage for documents.
Yeah, that would.
So, yeah.
I think we definitely have room to relocate that in-house, I think. All right, next slide, please. All right, so as in the middle of the process, we were asked to take a look at relocating a library / community center to Town Square. We went through, provided you this about a month two back. With some options for a library only, a library plus community flex space, as well as a library with a smaller community flex space. To address the future growth, that it aligns with the study that was done back in 2019. This was basically our complete restart with the library staff. And I'll let Jandy come up here and talk about this more if she'd like to. But really a start from scratch process with Jandy and her staff, as well as the community, to kind of, figure out, we no longer have the constraints of a 14,000 square foot building. What would we need? What are the key program activities or areas identified, things like that. And I think the next slide is some of our public engagement, if I remember correctly. All right. So Jandy's going to come and talk to you about this survey that we've been doing both online and in person for the last couple of weeks.
So just a quick update, and then I'll throw it back to Ben. We've compiled all of the results of the community engagement that we did throughout the month of August. We combined it into this graph for you guys to see. Option one received 11% of the votes. That includes in-person and our online survey. Option two received 70% of the total votes. And then option three received 18%. So total, we got 294 votes throughout the month of August. And that's how the percentages shook out. Any questions on that?
Mayor Pro Tem.
In person, Jandy, how did we do that? Can you remind us?
That was on the boards that we had. So at Barefoot in the Park, at the farmers market, and then at the in-person at the library.
Anybody else?
I'm just
Councilmember
curious,
Tucker.
was there any effort to collect whether these individuals were members of the citizens of Liberty Lake or not?
No.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I,
Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Kennedy.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor. Ben, look at this report, was excellent. Thank you for putting that together. I personally still have a challenge with the verbiage that we're using. On page 819, we show examples continually of option two, community flex space. And then option three, communities flex space. But then on the very next page, 20, talks about recommendations and action plan. It says midterm goals, 3 to 7 years, emphasizing investments in a new library/community center. My concern is the same today as it's been for a long time. If we continue to use conflicting names, then it's going to be confusing to the voting public.
Understand.
Moving forward. So,
Yeah, and like I said, this is a draft, and we can definitely get that cleaned up for you.
thank you. Very good report, Ben. Thank you.
I think I've got a couple more.
Hold on, Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Just one more quick comment about these numbers, and it's always hard to take a poll, obviously, but I find it interesting that we had more, if I'm understanding this correctly, and maybe hold on, I'm trying to get my bearings here. I'm not understanding it correctly, so excuse me.
I
apologize.
thought it was really interesting that we saw such a difference in a different spread with an online.
Yeah, that's what I was
versus
looking at as well.
And I sat there, Robin and I were together one weekend at the farmer's market, and it was, I mean, we basically had the three options there, and if they had questions, we'd ask them, but for the, predominantly almost, I think everybody the day we were there picked option two. And I don't know if it's the folks, I mean, a lot of them were kids. I mean, we did not necessarily ask where they were from. And I don't know, we've talked about, ponies and things like that. They may not look at, the big picture, whereas, I don't know, maybe an online user maybe takes a little bit deeper dive at that. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But it's definitely, I think it's definitely significant that the online voter block was significantly more spread out between the three options than in the in-person. But I'm not a data scientist, so I didn't necessarily tell you why. All right, next slide, please. All right, so just some quick final community and staff input summaries. I think a lot of the things that we saw, that facilities should be accessible, They need to be more modern, they need to be updated, and they also need to be walkable and well connected. I think having City Hall next to the police department and for the near future, the library, I think is gonna add a lot of goodness, especially for the City Hall, folks that work at City Hall, being able to be that close together. That's a pretty common layout for a lot of cities that I've been in. There's a lot of strong support for expanded library services, improved recreation services. A lot of that plan provides a lot more indoor programming space that Parks and Rec and McHale have that they haven't had in the past. And then the space has strengthened the community connections. That was something that we heard a lot from the community. Big staff priorities, like I said before, having secure storage, and Wendy brought it up during her comments. That's going to be a definite win for us, not being able to contract those services and rent them out. I think a big thing that we're looking at on the City Hall design is having natural light, because that is another facility that was not designed for the purpose we are intending it for. So we're going to have to make some design choices to make sure that people don't feel like they're in a tomb. But we are definitely, that's at the forefront of our design process, which we'll share for you in October. And then having flexible workspace, as a city evolves, the needs evolve. Having a space that we can evolve as the city grows is definitely something that will save us money in the long run, I really think. So I have a couple more slides. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick funding strategy. We just listed a lot of the possible funding strategies. I know that Kyle and Mark have talked before about kind of the investment strategy at a higher level. These are the options that we have available. Some may be more available than others for certain options within the actual plan. But just wanted to list them here, and I think we're going to have a lot more serious discussion in the future to kind of make this turn this plan into action.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Yeah, I looked at this closely, looking at it. There's one thing that's not on here, and that's the word possible taxes. Why was that eliminated or not added?
So we kind of use the term other general fund resources right now. That was kind of our first stab at it. If you'd like that term or those in here, we can obviously include it. But
no, I don't like the term, but it's reality.
All right.
It's reality. If we're going to compare all possibilities of revenue, then we have to compare all of them. We can't take the ones we're uncomfortable about and eliminate it with the idea that it's not there.
Understood.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
I know for the sake of discussion, it's listed as developer impact fees, but I hope we all realize that developers don't really pay those fees. I mean, they're just passed on to the home builder or to the homeowner. So as we are considering these funding strategies, I think we need to keep in mind how we've had many discussions around this table about the cost of housing being out of control. And if we're going to talk about implementing a developer impact fee or additional impact fees or building fees of some sort, we're going to make housing more expensive in the city. May only be by a couple $100s, but we're going to make housing more expensive in the city. So I just want to lay that marker out as we have these further discussions.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, this is just a list at this point. We're going to have a lot more discussion in the future too.
Councilmember Van Orman.
Thank you for putting this all together. I do like what Jandy said, as far as once we figure out what the people want in November, starting from scratch and figuring out what the people want in that particular building. So we'll get there. Far cry from what we're picking up, at least we'll have a pretty clear direction.
Okay, Councilmember Ball.
On the grants, DOJ, are you Department of Justice, right? You think they would contribute to the?
I think that was just an example, not necessarily just grants in general. I think that it was just a.
Oh.
Well, if we're doing things with the police department.
That's what I was,
Specific facilities for specific programs possibly.
Right, and who's, excuse me, who's IMLS?
Libraries.
Yeah.
Oh, Thank you, Jandy. Okay. Well, what about commerce? Because wasn't that grant before commerce and?
That'd be state capital.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So like the intent is to cast as wide a net as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't necessarily list them all, but.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, Mayor. Just going back to the results of the library survey, I think it's difficult for us to be able to make any concrete decisions based on the data we have back. One, we don't even know whether the 300 respondents were members of our city. And like you said, there was kids throwing dots up there and things like that. So I think that makes it pretty tricky. It has been brought up that in the past where if somebody throws something up on Facebook, a poll, that's not scientific. I don't see this as any more scientific than something like that. So I think it's tricky to take that very small data group and say, well, clearly the citizens have spoken.
Well, and I think and like I said, it's a data point.
Yeah.
It's probably not the last data point we need to make sure.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Just one more quick comment. And again, I know, Ben, we just put these on here and they're for our discussion, but for the folks who are watching at home, what bonds mean is essentially city debt. So we would be taking out debt against future revenues for the city to pay for that. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
I think I have one more slide.
You lied, you said it was 12.
Last slide. All right, so recommendations, I mean, we've kind of put, based on the sequencing concept that's recommended, we've got kind of an action plan here, and these can adjust, obviously. I mean, this is just a recommendation at this point. The short term is, we've already kind of started working on the city hall design, and then it kind of snowballs from there with Parks and Rec taking over a good portion of this building. I've got some stuff at the Public Works site in next year's CFP, which basically finishes me off. I'm good for a while. And then the midterm is really more the library community flex space. We're gonna have to decide on what we want to call it. Because so there's no one, I just noticed it. And then in the police department, those are gonna take probably a little more discussion and time because we don't have, like we've said before, we don't have the cash for these. So we're gonna figure that out. And then obviously long term, we're gonna review this plan. And there's gonna be a little bit more discussion on this with, Lisa's got a 20-year capital facilities plan that's gonna kind of work into this as well. And so what we're really looking for next step. So I've given you the draft. If you have any other comments, appreciate all the comments we've got tonight. We'll definitely incorporate those quickly. If there's any others as you have time to review this, after the meeting, please provide those to me. And we'll bring this back as an action item in a future meeting for you to approve the final draft. Other than that, we've got a few more, we've been working on the library town square, and we've got the advisory vote. That's obviously going to give us some good input. I guess Mark, I don't know if this is the right time. Couldn't quite squeeze it in organically, but at this point, we're obviously going to finish this. We've got a little bit more work to do on the library, but I guess I'll just abruptly turn it over to Mark to discuss something.
Thank you. Mark, can I ask a quick question before you?
Absolutely.
Ben, October 21st on there. So we're going to see, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to see a concept design on October 21st and then move forward from that.
So
point?
you're going to see a concept design with a cost estimate.
Okay.
So we were hoping to talk to you on the 7th of October. The estimation process has taken a little longer than we thought, so we had to push it 2 weeks. Wanted to have that cost information to you, especially as we're getting into budget season, because it is included in the CFP. So that's, so I will have a concept, and I've shared the floor plan with a couple of folks that have asked for it. If anybody wants to see it prior to that, I'm happy to share it. It changes every couple of days right now, just we're kind of working things out, just little tweaks here and there. But yeah, that'll be the presentation.
And if we all agree, we like that, we could get going on that pretty quickly, right? That's the one.
Absolutely. I mean, the intent is to kind of accept the concept design and start working on construction documents, because our schedule to meet, kind of to meet the optimal timeline is to get this out for bid early next year.
Okay.
Councilmember Spencer.
Thank you. Yeah, so Ben, I would, my feedback on the action plan here is that I'd love to see a plan for us to be able to pay for these items in cash. And so whether that means we move those midterm items out to long-term, I think that would be appropriate, at least in my opinion.
Mark, we'll go back to you.
All right. Thank you, Ben. Wanted to just make sure that we went over this. Darren, Ben and I are ex-military. We represent separate branches. Each of our branches, I'm confident, has a truism about assumptions. They probably all sound a little different. They probably use a little bit different colorful language, but they all lead to the same place. And so I want to make sure we avoid making an assumption. And so based on what you've heard in the draft report, I wanted to draw everyone's attention back to the scope of services that was approved by the council back in March to develop the 3 options that we've seen some feedback on even in tonight's presentation. One of the items in that scope of services was development of a bond initiative. And so without assuming that that is not going to be something that the council wants to do at that time because of the advisory vote, I want to make sure that we are either not pursuing that scope item or we are. And so this would have ordinarily been the time when we would have started having that conversation in bringing you this draft report. So I throw that question out for the council to just let us know whether we are at this time pursuing that or not.
All right, well, before I go to questions, I guess my assumption would be, since we're waiting on an advisory vote, that would be no. Is there anybody who disagrees with that? Go ahead.
I would agree. I guess my question is, Mark, if we get to November and the advisory vote comes back as all systems go, can we proceed to that next step? Or are we can you lay out the time parameters here?
The time parameters for bond election of this nature are the same as they were for the advisory vote. Really, the only difference is that some of the requirements with turnout require it to be on a general, on a general election. So it would have to be in November. But the timeline for filing and passing resolutions is the same. We would need to have that done 90 days in advance of the election, which puts it roughly at, the early part of August.
But for the purposes of our contract with, that you were reading from, we've got a little wiggle room to pursue that part if we wanted to.
We're just on pause right now. It's kind of how it sounds.
We're going to have to come back and amend the contract because I believe the contract expires in early 2026, which we're going to need to do anyway for the City Hall project. So we could do that. But yes, we would just press pause on this scope until and unless we made that decision in the future.
Other comments on that? Councilmember Van Orman.
Mark, I guess the bond initiative, when we're going to talk about it, would be one of 2 things. We either do a bond that's outside and it raises people's property taxes, or we do a councilmanic bond. Is there a way that we can see both?
See in what regard? What do you mean by see?
See, meaning compare the 2.
Compare the requirements?
No, compare the 2. If we're going to be able to do a councilmanic, or if we would need to go ahead and do a bond that would require a raise in property taxes.
So, and you're asking for a financial analysis for both methods?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say premature to even start that process until we get through the election.
Right.
But I would have expected that's what we would see anyway, even without asking. Kyle's like, yep. Right. Anybody else?
Do you need a vote from us or anything?
No, I was just looking for some kind of input so we could let Turner and Townsend know which direction to go.
Okay, all right, not hearing anything else. We will move on to the hazard mitigation risk plan.
All right. Evan's going to queue up a presentation here. While he's doing that, I'll just reflect on a few recent conversations that we've had in the past where we've talked about emergency management in general, and then more specifically about the hazard mitigation planning process that the county is currently undertaking. And so what this workshop is designed to do really is to give you an update on that process, and what some of the immediate next steps are and what we're going to ask from both the council and the community as we move forward. And so if just kind of imagining a calendar in front of you, looking back into early June, mid-June timeframe, we started talking with the county's consultants who are leading up the development of the hazard mitigation plan update about timelines and requirements and responsibilities and so forth. And so all of this that you're going to see comes out of that conversation. And so all of the different planning partners have been working at their various pieces this whole time. And those things will now start coming together as the new updated hazard mitigation plan here in the near future. And so, Evan, if you can go to the next slide. And so just generally speaking, when we talk about emergency management at large, we're talking essentially about these 4 activities, which you see here: prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. And those are, you don't necessarily start one and go and end one and go into the next one. These are always in mind as you're managing an emergency management type of operation. And so next slide, please. Where we are right now and what we're talking about with respect to the hazard mitigation plan is in this prevention and mitigation quadrant here. And so everything that we talk about with respect to the hazard mitigation plan and all of its associated elements and components, we're in prevention and mitigation. Next slide, Evan. And so what's the impetus for this? Well, and I've joked about this, and I don't mean to perpetuate the joke, but it's true. There are so many acronyms in this sphere that we have to define. And so the DMA in this case stands for the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. And so what the impetus for this plan, for this hazard mitigation plan, is that the DMA requires pre-disaster planning for federal funding eligibility. So if the county does not undertake this exercise and we don't participate, there could be an impact on our ability to seek and get federal funds for any kind of recovery or response downstream. So that's very important. The DMA also encourages us to partner with our state and local neighbors so that we all do kind of coordinated pre-disaster planning. So we're not doing one thing, Spokane Valley's doing something fundamentally different, and everybody else has their own variety. We're doing this in a coordinated, integrated way. Federal regulations require hazard mitigation plans to be monitored and updated on a periodic basis. Our own strategic plan prioritizes emergency management. And then Spokane County's hazard mitigation plan, under which we have an annex that we'll talk about in a minute, was last updated in 2020. And so these are kind of the impetuses for the current planning effort that's underway. Next slide, Evan. And so if you look at this kind of gray colored box as the hazard mitigation plan, what that contains in total are a couple of things. The plan itself is in 2 volumes. The first volume is the county's hazard mitigation plan, which goes into depth with the types of hazards that this area is exposed to, the history of actual incidents, roles and responsibilities of the planning partners, and those kinds of things. It lists goals and objectives of the planning effort and what some mitigation strategies countywide are. And so then when you go down into volume 2 are all of the planning partner annexes, and an annex is just a chapter. And so you see all of the chapters that are contained in volume 2 of the plan. Our chapter, the Liberty Lake Annex, is chapter 5 of volume 2. And so when we're talking about the hazard mitigation plan, in all likelihood, we're talking about our annex, but our annex is part of the larger county mitigation plan. Next slide, Evan. And so what does our annex specifically look like? And there, it's probably been several meetings ago, but I emailed out links to each of these documents so you could go to the county's website and see them. They in total are about 650 pages of stuff. And so it's, you know, that's a night's reading for some of you, right? It's a month for me. It's a lot of stuff. But our annex specifically has all of these elements, and you can see these are essentially chapter headings. The one that we're specifically talking about tonight and drawing your attention to tonight is the hazard, risk, and vulnerability ranking. So staff has gone through an exercise in cooperation with the consulting firm that's leading this effort for the county of going through a risk and vulnerability assessment and ranking. And so that is a deliverable that we have. We've submitted the draft already to the county, but one of the requirements that they have is to do some public engagement of the ranking. And so part of that is tonight with the briefing that we're making to you, but part of it also is going to be going out and asking the community for their input on our rankings. And so, Evan, if you go to the next slide. This is the risk and vulnerability rankings list. And so all of these things are types of hazards that we could expect to experience in this region in the city of Liberty Lake. And so what you'll see here in this table is the hazard type. The score is made up of several different elements, and you would get a matrix of high, medium, low, or I'm sorry, yes, high, medium, low, and a score associated with that for multiple categories of things, like how intense do we expect this to be? How much warning do we get for this type of hazard? Who is impacted by this type of hazard? Those kinds of things. And so when you put all of those assessments together, it turns into this composite score that you see reflected in that column there. And then the change column is reflecting whether or not that score is higher or lower than the same scoring process resulted in the 2020 plan. And you'll see that we've got wildfire and drought have increased in score, while earthquake, landslide have decreased, flood, severe weather have stayed the same. And we've now added new hazard types to our proposed risk and vulnerability assessment. And those are wildfire smoke, excessive temperature, man-made disaster, and a public health event. So this is the list of things and their order, their scoring order that the staff has come up with based on the use of the county designed rating system. And this is what we have submitted to the county as a draft. And now what we expect to get some validation on by some kind of engagement with the community. Evan, if you could go to the next slide, please. And so I just wanted also to point out that—
Mark, real quick, I
Yes.
know it's on our spreadsheet, but it's not on there just for the public. This is out of a total ranking of 4, not 5.
Is it a
Four
four
scale.
cap ranking? So
Yeah.
it's a 4-point ranking.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's on our stuff in the packet, but it wasn't up there.
Okay,
Shouldn't
good.
it?
Good to point that out. All of those numbers are a maximum of 4. And so if you go back one slide, Evan, just to clarify that, right, on the vulnerability rank, you see, and there's some subjectivity to this. I don't know that, if it's 3.01 and above is high, we have some flexibility in setting that. But you see those 4 hazard types we've assessed to be a high, our city is in a high vulnerability ranking. Those middle 5 are medium, and then flood is low. So Evan, if you can go back now to the matrix. So one other thing that I wanted to point out is that we're also, through the plan, through the annex update, naming mitigation actions that we plan to take over the implementation period of the plan, which is going to be roughly 5 years or so, that we expect to undertake in order to reduce our risk and make us less vulnerable for these hazards. And there are, I think, 15 in total. The reason that I included these 4 are because they are new action plans that we have submitted for this year's update that were not on the 2020 plan. And those are, and we've talked a little bit about this in various settings with the council before. We are currently working on a continuity of operations plan. That's something that the city currently does not have. We're going to be working on a comprehensive emergency management plan to mirror the county's comprehensive emergency management plan. It will be scoped and focused on the city. We're currently getting ready to start working on a transportation resiliency plan, and then the police department is underway in their accreditation effort. And so all 4 of those things are new actions that we are going to use in our mitigation strategy that we will be submitting to the county in our update as well. Evan, if you go to the next slide. And so the next steps, based on the timeline that we have to work with, are validating those risk rankings that we just showed you with some kind of public engagement. This is not going to be a long process. We're not going to go out and try to do a ranking exercise. We're just basically looking for validation of the scoring and ranking that we've come up with. And then the next step beyond that is finalizing the Liberty Lake Annex so that we can get it submitted so that the county can complete its process and update the hazard mitigation plan according to its schedule. And so with that, I believe that's the last piece of information. We are available for questions and comments.
Councilmember Ball.
Can you go back to the slide with the 4 things you're working on? Whoever's doing, yeah. Okay, so on this comprehensive emergency management plan, and when I was reading through this, it mentioned, you have to have a community emergency response team. Do we have a team, and who will the team be?
So that's a CERT team, essentially. A community emergency response team is a volunteer organization. We're not required to have one, but that's something that we have talked a bit about. There is some interest in the community for starting something like that, we believe. And so that certainly would be part of that planning process if we had the gumption to start a CERT outfit here in town. That would be something that we would be looking at for sure.
Okay, so it's not made up of like maybe somebody from PD and somebody from fire department. I mean, it's made up of volunteers, the CERT team.
Well, there's going to be some leadership that's required, but it is a group essentially of volunteers.
Okay. Okay. And one other question, and this was on page 41 in the packet. I can't find the exact paragraph right now, but it refers to green stormwater infrastructure. Now, what's that? How does that play into this?
So if you remember in all of our discussions that we were having surrounding the stormwater management plan that we went through several months ago, what that system is made up of is multiple components. Some of them are engineered, manufactured. Some of them are not. Some of them are natural swale, what I would call low impact development kinds of things that allow stormwater to run off. So any kind of green infrastructure would be using the natural topography, would be relying less on engineered stuff and more on natural stuff to achieve whatever goal it's aimed at.
So Councilmember Ball, if it helps, starting on page 36 of the packet, there's acronyms and abbreviations and green stormwater infrastructures on there, if it helps.
So you would have
Okay.
things like natural filtration,
Okay,
and, you know,
got
that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mark, does continuity of operations also include continuity of government?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
And transfer-
Before we get back, I want to make sure everybody else has a chance. Anybody else have any questions? Councilmember Dunn?
I would just offer an observation. The mitigation action plan, it seems to be as in response to specific events or in event of certain events. And I reflect on the hazards that have been identified and somehow try and make connection back to land use and allowable future planning. We're recognizing at this moment hazard. And I'm just wondering if as there's no action here tonight with respect to the objectives that you're performing, Mark, and this is all excellent work. But I'm just reflecting gently on land use in reflection of the increasing hazards that we face and any potential changes to consider in that. So thanks.
So, and I'll invite Lisa up to the podium to address some of that, but just to clarify, these 4 things, I want to say there are 15 total actions that make up our matrix. These 4 I'm showing you because these are new. These are things that we've added, but I'm pretty sure there's some actions in there that deal with land use and comprehensive planning.
So, Councilmember Dunn, one of the reasons why we included the climate vulnerability assessment report as an appendix to this is because that climate planning really is focusing on some of those issues like wildfire smoke, like drought, and some of those hazards that we identified in this year, the new ones that we identified had to do with the fact that we went through a very data-driven analysis to look at what those risks look like, why we think it's important to include it in our mitigation action plan is because this is foundational. Once we identify the hazards and start to prepare for the planning for those, I think that there is very much a potential for land use and development code initiatives. And you actually you'll see a lot of those in our natural environment and climate chapters in the comp plan. There's really actually quite a bit of overlap between what we're doing in that element and what we're doing here. And the intent is that we really be more comprehensive in how we plan for emergency management in the future. So I really appreciate the question. Did that answer?
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. That's the association and the direct interrelation of these 2 functions is what I recognize too. Thanks.
Right. Real quick, before we go back around, is there anybody else who hasn't spoken yet? Okay, Councilmember Ball.
Transportation resiliency plan, is that how to get out of here if we have to?
That's more on the evacuation side. Transportation resiliency is more related to the infrastructure and how we go about planning for hardened infrastructure on the transportation side, if you want to.
Yeah, and that is something that actually is getting funded through the climate planning grant. And we just kicked off the network. SRTC actually did a transportation resiliency plan that it does look at like having alternate routes and whatnot also. They did one on a county-wide basis, and it's great as a regional plan, but we're first of all on the edge of the earth in terms of SRTC's, in terms of our relationship in the county. And we're also a small jurisdiction, so it doesn't really recognize the details of our transportation network. And so it's really important that we take the regional planning and bring it down to a local level. And that's what we're doing as part of the transportation resiliency.
But it would include making sure that there are alternate routes and things
Absolutely.
like that. It wouldn't itself contain an evacuation plan. That's a separate planning exercise, but it would ensure that those routes existed.
Will an evacuation plan eventually be developed?
That would be part of that comprehensive emergency management plan. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Thank you. All right, anybody else for Mark Luzon? Okay. Is that it?
Yes.
Looks like we.
Sorry, go ahead. Councilmember Van Orman, go ahead.
I'm noticing we need, and you've got it in here, as far as taking care of all of the specifics that a city provides. What about down to the neighborhoods? Like neighborhood watches, making sure that our neighbors are taken care of. Do we have any specific plan with that in mind?
So I don't know that I can say we have something specifically planned, but if you look at what would be part of the consideration in developing a comprehensive emergency management plan, there is something there. We're getting back to these acronyms. There's something called a VOAD, which is Volunteer Organizations Active in Disasters. That would be something that would fit that description. We would have to develop a VOAD, and the complement to that is COAD. I forget what the C on the COAD stands for, but it's something active in disasters. And so all of those organizations exist in a planning world. We just have to bring them into reality. And so that would definitely be something that we would and could consider in that planning process. It doesn't exist yet.
Well, I know it did, but time kind of erodes that.
Sure.
So I'm just wondering if we've got the police department kind of looking at reinstating maybe neighborhood watches and getting our, yeah.
I don't know that I'll ask Deputy Chief to come up and address that. I'm not aware that we're currently reactivating any neighborhood watches. Those are volunteer organizations that work with police, but I don't know that we start them. We have a scope branch that operates out of our PD. And so there's some infrastructure there of that kind of volunteers taking a more active role in, say, neighborhood safety or citywide safety, those kinds of things. But all of that would have to be brought together in an organized way through that comprehensive emergency management plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Ball, go ahead.
So what is VOAD again? Volunteer?
Volunteer Organizations Active in Disasters.
Okay. Well, is that the same as the CERT team?
The CERT is a different thing. Yeah, it's a subset. So you've got to get familiar with thousands of acronyms, and there's going to be a test tomorrow that I'm going to email to you. No, it's part of it. The CERT is part of that whole infrastructure, but they're different things. They have overlap, but they're different. I'm chuckling to myself because there's just a lot of acronyms. I'm not trying to be difficult.
I know.
You ask about acronyms, you're dead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to speak to the COAD, VOAD, because those do exist in Spokane.
Oh.
It's just not specifically out here in Liberty Lake. So as far as getting those to move out this way, you just have to start getting involved there. I mean, so whether the city's going to officially get involved and send somebody to get involved that way, but it's a lot of ham radio folks, and setting up nets and things like that so that you have some sort of plan from a communication standpoint. But yeah, that can totally be brought out here if you just start putting the word out.
Call a friend and I'll call two friends.
Yeah.
Call two friends. Go ahead.
Well, obviously this makes Mark LOL. So if we can perhaps later BRB this particular conversation, bring it back.
Yeah, you'll be hearing more about this in different ways, because all of these things are going to require many conversations, so.
Yeah, this is not ending the conversation tonight for sure.
Be right back.
That's what I thought.
Okay, all right. If that's it on the hazard mitigation, we will close out that workshop and go on to co-housing development code amendment workshop. Lisa.
Clearly, you saved the best for last. Or maybe the driest. Well, as Evan brings up my presentation. So next slide, please. So we're talking tonight about a development code amendment related to co-living housing. And co-living housing means a residential development with sleeping units that are independently rented and lockable and provide living and sleeping space where residents share kitchen facilities and other sleeping units in the building. And this is, by the way, a state definition. Synonyms would include congregate living facilities, single room occupancy, rooming house, boarding house, lodging house, residential suites. Probably most of us lived in one of these during our college years. Next slide, please. So RCW 3670A.535 requires that we allow for co-living housing. We must allow it on any lot or in any zone that allows up to 6 multifamily housing units on a lot. It can't require standards that are more restrictive than are required for other multifamily residential uses. It cannot require more than 0.25 off-street parking spaces per sleeping unit. It cannot require any off-street parking spaces if within half a mile of a major transit stop. And by the way, the legislation has a very long and extensive list of those, but bottom line, it's a high-performance transit route. In Liberty Lake, what it means is a high-performance transit route or a route that has 15-minute service for at least 8 hours, 5 days a week. And we have some of those right now, and we will have some of those as of September 22nd. This is really unfortunate, and the legislature said that we must have this ordinance take effect no later than December 31st of 2025. So it couldn't go with all of the other housing elements. It has to go now. And so, and this is one of those preemptive laws. You don't, if your code does not allow for this, we must defer to the requirements in the state code, which creates a whole lot of challenges from an implementation standpoint. So next slide, please. So we have some amendments that are proposed. One of the first things we have to do is add the definition to our definitions section. I do want to say one other thing before I get into the actual amendment itself. We already have this happening in Liberty Lake, and it's allowed. We can't, single-family residential housing, we can't enforce on anything if you have, single family is defined as 8 or less or up to 8 unrelated individuals. So by definition, you have 3 friends, 4 friends, up to 8 friends living in a single family house, which is co-living housing. We're not regulating against it. I actually have had a call or two in recent years for somebody who's helping some veterans get into more supportive housing.
On Country
That-
Vista,
I'm
the one
sorry.
on Country Vista.
It wasn't actually on Country Vista. It's actually, but in the Rocky Hill neighborhood. And it was just a 3-bedroom house that they're renting out the individual rooms to a couple vets who need some assistance in getting housing, and it's an affordable way for them to get permanent housing. And they've just called to say, are we allowed to do it? And the answer is yes. So now we have to provide a whole bunch of regulations, because the state says we do, that says that we will allow this when we already allow it. Yes.
A question, in that scenario, when the individual called and you said, yes, it is allowed, did they have to file some report or file or anything?
Nope.
Okay.
The other thing is that, and I'll give you another great example, adult family living. So if you have assisted living for adults under 8 beds, that's treated as a single family house also. So again, we have versions of this already happening in Liberty Lake. So it's not as drastic, it's just more bureaucratic that we have to pass this ordinance. And so yeah.
I'm just thinking back to like the model for like Family Promise of Spokane. In theory, they could purchase a home and put folks in the different areas as long as they had them locked up and things like that. Is that right?
Yeah, as long as each sleeping unit has a lockable door. Yeah.
Right. Got it.
Okay, next slide, please. So this is the definition. It's the state definition. We also have to change the zoning matrix. The zones that where this would be allowed are R2, R3, and all of our mixed use zones. Those are the zones that we can have 6 attached single family homes or more. Next slide, please. We also have to change this in the River District, and because all of the zones allow for this, all of the zones will allow for co-living housing. Next slide, please. So in each of those chapters those zones where we are allowing co-living housing, we need to provide requirements for the limited use. So limited use is an outright allowed use that just has additional standards associated with the use. So again, we have a requirement that co-living housing shall be subject to a provision of 0.25 parking spaces per sleeping unit unless located within 1/2 mile distance from a major transit stop, in which no parking shall be required, in which case no parking shall be required. For this purpose, major transit stop shall be defined as a transit stop providing fixed route service at intervals of at least 15 minutes for at least 5 hours during the peak hours of operation on weekdays, or a transit stop on a bus rapid transit route. Those are the types of transit that would apply in our city in STA's 50-year plan. We don't have any light rail or some of the other types of transit that are included in the state definition.
Councilmember Roll.
So the 0.25 parking spaces per sleeping unit, that puzzles me. So in other words, like, let's say there's 4 units that lock up.
Yes.
Or no, I mean 8, so they can have 4 vehicles? Or, I mean, actually.
So I can't require more than, if there's 4 rooms, I can't require more than 1 parking spot. That's state law.
But what if it's like somebody that has someone come in daily, like to take care of
They have
them?
to find a spot to park somewhere.
I don't know what to, okay, I don't know what to say.
You're asking the same questions everybody has. It's state law. We can't. do anything.
Co-living housing shall be subject to architectural design review requirements applicable to multifamily development within this zone. So we do require multifamily design review. It's an administrative review. We can't make it any more restrictive than we make for multifamily. So if you're doing a larger boarding house, and it really qualifies as multifamily, this is how we can kind of look and make sure that it feels like it's residential. So as of right now, for the mega houses, that are co-living, we actually wouldn't require that. Why? Because they're single-family residential. But again, we want to make it consistent. If we're treating it like multifamily, we require multifamily above 6 units to go through design review. So we've included that in there. Also, co-living housing consists of 8 sleeping units or less, or shall be treated as one dwelling unit for purposes of density calculations. Again, that harkens back to the definition of single family. If co-living housing consists of more than 8 sleeping units, each sleeping unit shall be considered equal to 1/4 of a dwelling unit for purposes of density calculations. Again, this is right out of the RCW. And Commerce did review it. They sent me a checklist and said, you have to show that you're addressing all these things. We're like, we are addressing, or we don't regulate those at all. Next slide, please.
Councilmember Spencer.
Oh, yeah.
Lisa, so just so we're clear, it's up to 8 dwelling units. You could potentially have one couple in each of those units, right? Within that dwelling,
That's correct.
right? Okay,
Yes.
so you could in theory have 16 plus cars
Mhm.
out in front of that house. Yeah,
Talk to your state legislator.
great logic there from the state.
All right, so we're trying to get this through by December 31st. So we have Planning Commission workshopped it on March 26th. We did this early on because it was low-hanging fruit to get it through. We were trying to time it with our sign code and bring them both forward together. But sign code has been delayed a little bit. So we want to keep this on track so that it's in effect on December 31st. We've completed the SEPA on this. We sent out the notices August 20th. And it was published August 29th in the Spokane Valley News Herald. The comment period ended September 9th, and Planning Commission held their hearing on September 10th. So we are planning on doing a public hearing on October 7th. I'll give you a very abbreviated presentation for that, but I wanted to give you a context at this workshop. Next slide, please. So within your packets, you saw the staff report I provided to Planning Commission, relevant plan goals and policies. It does align with a couple governance goals, housing goal 2, human service goals, land use and housing policies. So there's a few in there that are aligned. It's in the staff report. Next slide, please. And the staff analysis is also included in the staff report. And this is where I go through and identify each of the requirements within the RCW and show how we're meeting it for the record. And it's basically the requirements that you see later. Next slide, please. Planning Commission at their hearing, they made the following findings: that the required SEPA review has been completed and on the proposed amendment, that all public agency and notice requirements were met and accomplished in a timely manner. The public was provided the opportunity for early and continuous participation, and the public had the opportunity to submit written comments and testify at a public hearing before the Planning Commission. We did not have any public comments. In fact, the only comment I got on this was from the Department of Commerce. Next slide, please. So the Planning Commission went through and based on the criteria in 10-4-5A, they made the following findings: that the proposed amendment is consistent with the comp plan and is not detrimental to the public welfare. A change in economic, technological, or land use conditions has occurred to warrant the modification. The amendment is not necessary to correct an error. It is found that an amendment is necessary to clarify meaning or intent. It is found that an amendment is necessary to provide for use that was not previously addressed, and the amendment is deemed necessary as being in the public interest. So they made those findings. And next slide, please. And they made a recommendation to approve the proposed amendments. The vote was 6-1. And so that's where we're at. Next slide, please. So I stand for questions.
Any further questions from anybody? Not seeing any.
Right, thank you. We'll have this back on October 7th. Just to expedite it, I will, because it's what it has to be. I will bring forward the first read of the ordinance also on the 7th.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, consent agenda.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve general business consent agenda items 10A, B, D, and F.
Second. We have a second by Councilmember Kurtz. All in favor of approving consent agenda items A, B, D, and F, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0.
Quick question on 11A. So because we are making an amendment to that, do we need to get it on the floor first and then make the amendment? Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve general business item 11A, the Library Board of Trustees circulation policy.
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Kennedy.
Now I'll make a motion to amend the fines section of the circulation policy to replace cooperative information network with the Inland Share Library Group.
Do we have a second? Second. Second from Councilmember Kurtz. Any questions or discussion on the amendment? Okay, not hearing any. Those in favor of approving the amendment to change CIN to ILG in the fines section, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have an amended motion. And then we had a second for that. So any discussion on the circulation policy? All right, not hearing any. Those in favor of approving the recommended changes to the library circulation policy, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 7-0.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, to approve general business item 11B, the Library Board of Trustees library card eligibility policy.
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Kennedy. Any further questions or discussion? Not hearing any. Those in favor of approving Board of Trustees recommended changes to the library card eligibility policy, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Right, motion passes 7-0.
Make a motion to approve the former item 10C, the opioid abatement agreement with Purdue Pharma and secondary manufacturers.
Second. Who was it? Okay, we have a second by Councilmember Kurtz. Discussion since it was moved. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Yeah, I think this goes back. We've done this a couple of times. I still don't agree with the government suing or causing private corporations to pay for things like this. I don't know necessarily that any of the organizations listed claimed any fault in this. I mean, obviously opioids are a big problem, but I don't know that this actually solves anything other than just a big cash grab. So I will not be voting in favor of this.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I got it back. Make sure I see Councilmember Dunn here before I go. Okay. All right. All right. Those in favor of approving the opioid abatement agreement with Purdue Pharma and secondary manufacturers, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right. Motion passes 6-1.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the former 10E, the Boyer Beatty artist agreement.
Second. Second by Councilmember Kurtz.
Yeah, I'm the one that brought that up, and Nancy answered my questions in her presentation.
Okay.
So,
All right.
good.
So any further questions since it's on the floor? Not hearing any. Those in favor of approving the artist agreement for Orchard Park Boulder Art in the amount not to exceed $10,000, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, we're up to council comments. Any further additions? Not hearing any. I know I'm not council, but I will make a note. I'm going to be out of town for a couple of weeks, so I will not be at the meeting where we're reviewing the governance manual, but I'm going to be getting with Mark on my notes, and I will not be here for the first meeting in October. I'll be 3 hours at different time zone and won't be here. So any other council comments?
Oh,
Councilmember
I forgot to mention, I went to that opening too of Herman,
Foreman. Yeah.
But it's pronounced Herman. Because I asked one of the.
Oh, okay.
Because it's German.
German. Thank you
But
for
this
that.
is, I just thought this was funny. I was looking at the picture of all, because it's a family business, has been since day one. They just got very big, but they had this, the pictures of all the different Hermans that have, been in charge. The founder named his son Herman, spelled like Munster.
Herman.
I died laughing. Anyway,
What kind of a parent?
I'm like,
Hey, I have a friend in college named Candy Cane, so you never
yeah,
know.
so Herman. I thought that was horrible. Okay. That's it.
All right. Councilmember Kurtz.
I have more of a question. I know we have a couple of agenda items and one of them is executive session, so I wanted to make a motion to extend the meeting, but I
sure.
don't know how long y'all think we need with those other topics.
You want to say 9:15 to start? 'Cause I think we can get through this next couple of things.
Make a motion to extend the meeting to 9:15.
Second.
A motion and a second. Those in favor of extending the meeting to 9:15, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? My motion passes 7-0. Thank you for that. I lost track. Okay, any other council comments? Not hearing any. We don't have any public hearings or appeals, no resolutions. We do have a second read ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. Second read, ordinance 67D, an ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, amending ordinance 67C, passed August 18th, 2020, amending business licensing regulations for the City of Liberty Lake.
We have a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 67D.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Kurtz. Any questions or discussion on this? Not seeing any. We do take public comment on ordinances. So if there's anybody in chambers or online who'd like to make a comment on specifically ordinance 67D, speak now or further ever hold your peace. If you're online, go ahead and send a note to our meeting host in chat.
Herman? You out there, Herman?
All right, do we have anybody? All right, we have no public comments, so I'll go ahead and move to a vote. Those in favor of approving ordinance 67D, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. We have no emergency ordinances. Introduction of upcoming agenda items. You've got the comprehensive list in front of you. Lots of potential special meetings, budget things coming up. I don't think we added anything today. Obviously, we'll have some things continuing with the hazard mitigation and all that, but those will be scheduled as we are ready. Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. I brought this up in the last meeting. I see to be determined as a social media on it. So I really feel strongly, since I always put a lot of time and effort into this, I hope we're going to have that accomplished before the end of the year.
I'll look to those who are working on it.
It's up.
Oh, it's up to you. Oh, sorry.
And we're in the budget too. I mean, so I'm not sure what our appetite is for that. We have a governance manual too, so we want to get through that
We
before
will
we
do
take
our
on.
best. We will do our best. So we know whose hands it's in. Okay, anybody else? Okay, not hearing any. So we have citizen comments. Once again, if there's anybody in chambers or online, public comment. Please send a note to our meeting host in chat if you're online. I think there was only one person. Oh, everybody online is city. So I will assume that no, but there's nobody making any citizen comments. All right, executive session. We will adjourn to executive session per RCW 42.30.144A for an update on LLPD collective bargaining negotiations. 15. Okay, so we're going to give us a couple minutes for a potty break. We'll be back in chambers at 9:10. No decisions will be made, and we will adjourn when we return. Oh, Council's done. We will
Mark,
call you.
Okay, yeah, just ring my mobile. That
Yep,
works.
we will. Thank you. Okay, I'll try that again. Take two. Hi, everybody. We're out of executive session. No decisions were made as promised. And since we are out, we are adjourning the meeting. Everyone have a good night.